itself, I think overall there's a deterioration of American education that's accessible to the common people. And yeah, it's not going to be a very civil outcome when people are not properly brought up, in my opinion. Thank you.
Can I get you to expand on that? Are you suggesting that people who are in the lower economic levels of society are less civil than people who have wealth and education?
Yeah, I tend to believe that, and I think those are measurable. I do think that the crime rates, when you have the correlation study against family income, you can see a correlation there. And yeah, I do think there's a connection.
Well, much as you have trouble defining anti-Semitism, some people might have trouble defining crime, because there's a lot of white-collar crime that's being, you might even have a president who in 6, 7, 8 months has 9 months, 10 months now, amass an additional $1 billion in personal wealth through his presidency, and perhaps some of that might be viewed by some people as criminal, and other people might not view that as criminal, but it happens, and the awarding of contracts based on relationships, and these are not being awarded to people in the lower stratosphere, they're awarded to people in the upper stratosphere. Is that not such a crime as somebody shoplifting a Twinkie from the shelf at Penn Station in New York? I would argue it's even a greater crime. The lady I described was taking something worth like $2 or less, and we're talking about people who are taking millions and sometimes billions of dollars. And all that, by the way, since you use the term measurable, I will use the term documented, has been documented. So I don't know whether the cause and effect really is as measurable as you think, given the narrow parameters that are being used to define crime.
If I might respond to that a little bit, I don't think we were talking about crime. I think we're talking about civility.
But you brought up crime. So why did you bring it up if you didn't want to talk about it?
Well, it's one of the data points that I think correlates to what I'm saying. But even if you measure civility, I think it actually depends more on education more so than crime. But yeah, we can have that debate, but that's not the debate I really want.
I spent over the last 2 years, I spent several weeks each year in rural poor Appalachia or Appalachia, depending on where you live and what you prefer. Oh my God, I've had people who said, I've lived in Appalachia all my life. I've never heard it called Appalachia. And then I've heard people who say, I lived in Appalachia all my life. I never heard it called Appalachia. So, but you know where I'm talking about. I spent time in Kentucky and in West Virginia and in Pennsylvania. I stayed in small towns. I met people who literally don't have running water. And they're as nice and as civil as can be. Why is that? I don't know how measurable really your argument is. Doctor, followed by Ben, followed by David.
Thank you. Anyway, I tend to give my own perspective coming from an Asian thing. Fantastic topic. I really liked it. And I think the answer is yes. For one thing, that is because somebody like you thought about civility, that word itself. So that means humanity is not lost. That makes me really hopeful. So somebody is thinking about civility, somebody would like to talk about
please
civility.
Don't hang your hat of hope on the shoulders of Gary. Oh my God, please don't do that. I cannot live up to that, but thank you for
Sure. So that means it's there, and my way of looking at it is that man inherently has that aspect, the feelings, right? We may see lots of bad things that we hear, we discuss, and then sometimes we lose hope. But I think the resonant frequency, the fundamental frequency, is to be hopeful, being good to others, whatever that you define as good. Say the simplest things. So in that sense, yes, civility is going to return, because I also feel that what goes up has to come down. So it is a circle of life. Things go up and down, and sometimes we think that it's really bad or it's already too good. So, but the only thing is that we don't know what is the peak and what is the dip. So, in that sense, being hopeful is always a good option. I also would like to mention one more thing. Probably this is something that we have to inculcate and also practice. And this long time back, almost like 35 years back, I saw this in one of my local newspapers. That was a quote by Confucius. I may not exactly repeat the quote, but more or less I tell what he was talking about. It's a nice sentence. It said, if you see a good man, think of emulating him. And if you see a bad one, examine your own heart. It was such a fantastic thing. And then I was actually sort of a little over teenager. But somehow this is with me for more than 35 years now, even a little more. So this is something that I tell everyone. Whenever you think desperate, whenever you think very bad, whenever you feel so depressed, think of it. Once we start looking inside, we will be as good as somebody else and as bad as someone else. So in that sense, we should be able to come back to our natural frequency, the fundamental frequency, which is being calm and good. So these are the two aspects that I wanted to tell from the not so political point of view or the current affairs or anything. The other point that I want to say is that yes, we are in times, because many other speakers also spoke about it, the social media and then the politics and things like that. It's not only in America. It's not only in Europe. I'm also witnessing some such things, or more such things rather, even in India. So it's around the globe, these things are happening. I think it is for a purpose. More and more people will start talking about it, and once things cross a threshold, I think people will automatically come back to the calmness, the quietness, and something which is good for everyone. So that's my hope. And also, in a way, this is my observation of my life. Things are not going to be always bad. Things are not going to be always paradise. So in that sense, let us keep hoping. Gary, thank you so much.
Yes, let's try to keep this as positive as possible. I don't know whether we can. Ben, followed by David. Ben.
Hi, Gary. Yeah, I think the previous speaker mentioned Confucius. Definitely, I think Confucius has a lot of interesting, very useful wisdom, even in modern lives. the fact that that saying that he quoted, emulate a good man when you see one man, good person, and then when you see a bad person, look at yourself, examine yourself. I think that sense of self sort of examination, introspective, and sort of putting yourself in other shoes, that I think is very important and useful in bringing civility back in our society. I think another speaker before me mentioned tribalism. I think civility as a means of maintaining an order in society is a very useful concept because without civility, we would be back in the olden days where, might is power. And whoever's tallest, strongest will get the most amount of food, et cetera, et cetera. So human beings have evolved over the years, whatever thousands of years, to a point where we believe that having a sense of order is actually a positive thing for the survival of the race, instead of completely ruleless, if you will, which is, get the civility concept out of the picture. You just do whatever you want. And so we have reached, at least accomplished, sort of a common ground of understanding having that type of civility is positive. And I'm hopeful that that civility has not permanently disappeared in our collective consciousness. And what we're seeing in the last few years,
words invite us to transcend words.
Here, whether it's the president and his cabinet members, as well as congressional law, or for that matter, even the courts. I remember when Justice Ginsburg and Justice Scalia, being on really almost the opposite sides of the political spectrum in terms of their judicial philosophy, they were both civil to each other. And generally speaking, that was well accepted and considered not a hindrance in expressing their disagreement with each other. So I think by the courts nowadays, I'm seeing less and less that type of civility. So certainly, that's why we're talking about this issue. We're sensing a lack of civility, especially from our president with the airplane, the meme that he published. That's a really extreme example. But I think human nature is such that civility is something that we treasure, we value, and it will help us maintain an orderly society. Now, the question to me is, how do we judge civility? How do we, first of all, define civility, which is relatively easy, but how do we maintain that civility? Is it the civility where we would use some sort of replacement criteria? For example, maybe language, maybe religion, maybe ethnicity, sort of the tribalism that somebody else was talking about. And in my book, I think, at least for the United States, the rule of law is a very effective tool to maintain what I considered workable civility versus using some other criteria that I just mentioned previously. And I think a constitution is a great example of being not a super well drafted novel or literary piece, but just as a set of rules that we all agree to abide by, and that has maintained relatively sort of civility in the orderly conduct of the society in the U.S. up until, I guess, nowadays when the president is starting to challenging the Constitution, being whether he wants to adhere to that or not. So come next few years, if we do have another president, knock on wood, that he will not be the third term or fourth term president, then I think civility will be back And we will soon realize whether it's Confucius' teaching or whether it's the practicality of maintaining an orderly society. And we would consider that civility is something that's positive that we would all like to have. The last thing I want to say is a technical aspect of civility disappearing or being less of an important concept has something to do with technology. Specifically, the phenomenon where humans are more and more connecting via virtual world, whether it's online, whether it's video, or for what we're doing, Clubhouse, compared to physically face-to-face gather around a bonfire or a living room couch or table having conversations. So for that matter, I think civility, in my mind, that contributes to the disappearing of civility, just because it's so much easier to scream and yell and curse you over the phone versus right in front of your face. Imagine, Gary, if we were having a conversation on the train, facing each other, I think it would be very different for me to be so mad and scream at you versus holding the phone in my face and then just wanted to release my anger. So with that, I think I highly encourage we human offline scenario versus Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Uplifting. David, don't end this on a downer. You're up.
No, it means you can't get it.
Well, try not to, Gary. You know, Ben and Dr. obviously cited some great writings. I'd like to cite the great Buddha.
If you can't get it, how?
Through many of my travels, I've had to understand why these cultures would build such massive edifice to this man who believed in simplicity. And one of his core tenets is suffering. Life is impermanent. So while we suffer under Trump, we have the knowledge of knowing it's hopefully not permanent. And you know, Gary, I say that because with life and pain and suffering, we do need guidance, we do need insights on how to navigate. But for many Americans, suffering is taking for many Americans, suffering is going to be involving their health care, seeing their loved ones shackled and taken away by ICE. You know, there's you know, the tariffs and the farmers and those that have been impacted by it. So, you know, while we pivot, we navigate, and we try to find a way to fight what it is that is before us, it's very important that we do that civilly, irrespective of the damage or the outcomes that we're seeing. We didn't see civility on January 6th when there were those who reigned on the White House, or excuse me, the Capitol building, believing that the election was stolen. Was there a better way to address that versus being uncivil? And so I think we need to look at this nation and how things have been transacted when civility was involved. You know, we can go back as far as Abraham Lincoln, and we have President Trump addressing reporters today, or writers, whoever it was today or yesterday, that he thinks he's a better president than Lincoln or Washington. Well, to go back to your comments, Gary, about who's willing to sacrifice themselves on the altar of right and wrong, to stand up to truth, to stand up to justice. And we can go back to Lincoln, who during the Great Civil War and the problems facing the nation, whether or not the nation was going to be divided into two, Frederick Douglass showed up and said,
"Hey, Mark.
Mr. President, you're the President of the United States."
I'm in Gary Baumgarten's room, and this guy David is speaking. David, who knows everything.
I'm on this Twitter Spaces in a few minutes.
Oh, great.
You know about that thing, that Make It Great thing they do once a week?
Yeah, I've listened to it. I've raised my hand. They don't invite me up. I was on there once, and then they never let me back up. But, you know.
So this is so funny. They've invited me to be the the guest for this weekend, this week.
Yeah, that's great. That's great publicity. Really
What
take.
should I do? You want me to say anything or?
No, just be yourself, be genuine, and you know, it's great publicity. That guy does a good job.
Oh, Max kind of thinks they're clowns.
Oh, you're gonna. I don't know. You're so nice. I can't see them being rude to you. So I think it's a great press opportunity for you.
Oh, I just saw you. You just texted me, and I guess it starts in 15 minutes. So I'm gonna go see if they're there yet.
Okay, sounds good. I'll be listening in.
No big deal. Well, you know what Max just told me, by the way, is like there's a lot of news about the Democrats at the state may actually change the districts, and it's all targeting the hood. Do you know about that?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, in other words, how can they go from 3 Republicans to 2? And the best way to do it would be to pick one district to gerrymander, and to change, and that's the one. Isn't that funny?
Well, if you really look at Rockford, Peoria, Bloomington, the biggest towns, the main city centers are all Democrat. They gutted it.
I bet they are for sure.
So it's already, how much more can they extract? I don't understand.
Yeah, they have to they probably draw a bridge going all the way into Chicago or something. They could make it look any way that, it doesn't matter how silly it looks.
I don't understand. I see videos of Border Patrol agents walking around Mount Prospect, just walking around a neighborhood. It's
I saw that too. I saw that. Yeah.
What the F is that? What kind of targeting is that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Strange. It may be wrong place, wrong time, but.
Yeah, I went by Kentucky yesterday. Nobody was around.
Oh, wow.
I went in the morning, though, but there was no protesters. Nothing was going on.
So when are you going to drive down to Springfield?
Oh, yeah. You want to, I can meet you. So my plan, do you want to be there? You want to try to be first, right? Or do you?
Yeah, I mean, October 27th, I'll drive down that Monday, probably.
But I'm telling people, if you're going to be challenged and if you get more signatures, it might be worth waiting a week and having a week extra signatures,
Yeah, I do have more people responding on Craigslist. Hopefully one guy.
I don't think if you're in a 2-man race that it matters much at all. You're first or second. In fact, in your case, it probably doesn't matter at all, because if people they either hate him or they like him, it doesn't matter whether he's first or second,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's up to you. But if you want to be first, then you got to get there before. I'm not sure what time they open on Monday, but before they open, as long as you're in the line before they open, then even if Lahood is there, then you'll be in a lottery with Lahood. Even if he's in the front and you're in the back, it doesn't matter as long as you're there early enough before they open. You see what I'm saying? It's not like you need to be first. It doesn't matter.
I kept asking Max.
There'll be 100 people in the line, maybe more. I did it last time.
Really? Holy cow.
Yeah. So, but whatever. If it's at all an advantage to be first, then it might be worth going. See, if you don't go Monday morning, you'll very likely not be first, but be second on the ballot. Second in order. But the thing is, you'll have an extra week to file, and when you do file it, there will be no one, maybe zero. There's only a line really at the beginning, that first day.
Okay.
There's no line.
Yeah, I'll probably skip that then. I'll probably go I don't know.
I think if I were you, I would, just because he's got so much money, he might try to knock you off, and you'd kick yourself if you got knocked off by a few and you could have waited a few days to get more. But it just depends on where you feel you are.
Where does the challenge take place? Downtown Chicago at the Illinois Election Commission?
Yeah, that's where the filing is in Springfield, but the challenge At least when I did it with Max, it was in Chicago. I wonder in yours. I don't know. I don't know because yours isn't in Cook County, so maybe it won't be for you in Cook County. I'm not sure.
I mean, the only other option would be back in Springfield, right?
Probably, I think. I don't. Max was in like Lake County, Cook County, and
It's got to be Chicago because they got to centralize the whole state, right?
yeah, but I doubt they make people drive from like East St. Louis all the way to Chicago. But maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so you can look on that thing and see that, that SBE, the website. I'm sure it says it on there.
Well, regardless of whether it turns out good or bad for me, it's been a really great experience. I can't thank your son enough for,
No,
you know.
man, don't be like that. Let's win.
Oh, I have. Just getting on that ballot will be the victory.
They're so pissed with with the shutdown and all this stuff. I don't know. Don't you get this a lot? Like people hate him. Republicans hate him, right?
You know, I read that Trump was going to bail out the soybean farmers, and LaHood and Trump are tight. So if LaHood can get that bailout, Trump will technically buy the election for LaHood. But who am I, to stop him anyways? I mean, but if even the Democrat candidates, there are just a bunch of nobodies. So I don't know. LaHood's got 10 million.
Just a lot of shit is going on. Like who knows what's going to happen between now and March. I guarantee you there will be significant events that will happen, and we can't even imagine what it is.
Yeah, I mean it's.
God forbid, it's Charlie Kirk kind of thing. A war.
Well, the government shutdown. Who knows? Like there could be another pandemic. There could be all kinds of crazy
that's
swan events.
This gerrymandering thing could come into play. Think about that. If they gerrymander it, people would be pissed. I'm just talking about the primary. They'll be pissed that they got gerrymandered and they might vote for him. Vote for the other guy.
I'll try to find the article, but how in the world is the Illinois Senate or Illinois representatives changing the districting when all that's done through the census?
So you got to ask Matt. Apparently, the states, like Pittsburgh and the state Senate or state house, can do it.
They sue though. They have to sue the federal government.
It's not straightforward, but it's possible.
They have to sue the federal government because that's what Newsom is doing. He's suing the federal government for the redistricting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that must be it. Yeah.
I mean, well, good luck on this interview. They can be tough cookies, but I'm sure you can handle them. And
think about all our experience on Clubhouse there, but compared to Clubhouse, it's not.
I know, and they got the one guy, Libs of Chicago. He has a very big X account where he posts a lot of Chicago stuff, so he's kind of famous, and he's a nice guy. Max has a little conflict with everybody on X, but
Max is kicked off basically. He can't be on it.
Yeah, I don't know why they kicked him off that 560. He said he was getting censored there, but this is life. There are censors, and the people you're talking to are censors as well.
I'm going to find out. I'm going to get a little bit, but I'm just curious. I don't like that conservative radio shouldn't be censoring anybody for if they're getting at the truth,
Well, when I talk
coming out now, like DeVore wants to sue Proft, and I mean Max was early. That now, Jeannie Ives is into it. Everybody else is into this thing. The lawsuit came out, and maybe they shouldn't have disclosed it, but they did. Who leaked it? Blah blah blah. There's a lot of. It's like a shitstorm. It's good.
Yeah. Oh, Norma, welcome.
Yo. Hello, gentlemen, friend.
Hey, Nora, I haven't talked to you in a while. How are you doing, buddy?
Just great. How are you, Mark?
John, Norm and I went to 770 and the neighborhood over there in Crown Heights. Hung out. We had the best time. Went to a Febrien
Oh wow.
It was fun.
I need to do that. Next time I come home, I will call you. I would love to do that.
Well, I'm going to hold you to that. And I took advantage of one of your ideas, and I flew to Eretz Yisrael from Europe, and it was much smarter than flying directly from the U.S. It was so much more convenient.
I know, it's crazy. You get there and it's like nothing. And my flight from Rome cost $80.
Well, I didn't have that benefit because I went during the war, and it was so I flew El Al because of the missile defense systems. Plus, it might have been the only thing flying. I think Ryanair hasn't put their missile defense system up yet, but whatever it is, you know what I'm saying. But I had so much fun, man.
That's cool. When did you get back? When were you there?
I was there in April.
Oh, nice.
That was a while back, but it's still pretty fresh in my mind. And I flew El Al, and I'd already gotten over my jet lag because I'd been in Europe for a couple of weeks, so it made so much more sense.
Yeah,
and I got to the gate, and all the Haredim were davening, and it was like I jumped right in, you know, like
you're the white guy. You're the white guy.
Yeah. And like we took over one of the gates that was closed in the airport. Like the airport security. This is like in Heathrow. They wanted to throw us out, but like it's a crowd of, you know.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Right.
It was so funny, man. The whole thing was a trip.
Well, I was just telling John, I have to go. I'm being a guest on this weekly podcast over on Twitter, so I'm going to go do that.
Well, you should include the link so we can.
I will. I'll pin the link. I'll pin the link to the room, and we'll.
Is election day coming up for you?
No, not for March, but you know.
Okay.
Wait, John? Do you have the link? Did I send it to you?
Yeah, I got it. Let me pull it from my X. I'll pin it to this room. Okay, I'll see you there.
Okay, good luck.
We'll be listening.
Okay.
Let me get the link. It's a local Chicago, independent news agency called can't remember what they call themselves, but they're associated to this guy who runs an X account called Libs of Chicago. He calls himself an activist. Socialism is another word for theft. I cannot be bought.
All right. Do me a favor, text it to me. I'm in a work zone, so I have to stay in the zone, and I don't want to be rude to you and ignore, so I'm just gonna skip around.
Oh, no worries.
I'll try to tune into the Mark thing. Are you gonna? Why could you text it to me?
I will. Yeah.
Okay, and always good to see you. Good luck.
Okay. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Bye.
All right. Wow. Let me just go to Mark Rice's. Maybe I'm blocked. Okay, I'm gonna end this one. This is in the critical thinking after party, or maybe I'll leave it open. Fuck it. See who shows up. Okay, this is John for Congress. What up? Scott. Welcome to the Critical Thinking After Party with Candidate John. I don't want to steal Uncle Steve's glory, but I think I don't think Uncle Steve is working today. I don't know. Here on Clownhouse. So welcome to the Critical Thinking After Party, where we will review Gary Baumgarten's show, where he talks to people and he says, if you're poor, you still don't have to be a criminal. And he says he goes to the Appalachia. Some people say Appalachia, some people say Appalachia. But even if you live there your whole life and you say Appalachia and you think it's not Appalachia, well, they got manners. They got manners in those hill countries. Can you hear me?
Karaoke. I'm just looking for like this. I've shot it 3 times.
I'm gonna try to go on this phone. Oh, we got people watching over here. I don't really want to take you out of your live stream, but I'm trying to find a cell phone.
You had El Normo, right?
I have El Normo in here. He's now in Get Snatched, talking to Doc. But what I'm trying to do is.
Have the numbers for El Normo.
What'd she say?
No needs like you don't have the numbers to keep El Normo. El Normo needs like a massive stage, probably with black people who can antagonize it, like or anti-Zionist or something. Like if you just got a friendly stage, it's not for him.
He has spent a lot of time on this app. I have recorded him quite a bit. He's in a lot of my recordings. Well, I'm having a hard time finding this other X space. I really like Gary Baumgarten's room. I mean, I like the fact that you turn off.
It's a great room. It's a great room.
Yeah, I'll tell you, aren't those Asian people super smart who are basically talking about emotional intelligence over and over and over again? Pretty smart, dude. Have you ever heard about how rich Singapore is? I mean, they're fucking. I just saw they just minted a new naval boat, fully autonomous, massive, aerial defense, underwater defense. The thing is like a multi-billion-dollar weapon of mass destruction. I imagine they are countering China, but it's like, what can actually counter China when you're just a tiny little archipelago nation? Wow. So, you know what's interesting about Instagram is you can no longer do live. You can't go live anymore. You have to have 1,000 followers. So, we got an Anon in here.
I think I knew who that was.
Who was it, Jane?
I think it was you, dear friend.
It was Jane.
I've seen it. I've seen it.
That was me. That was me.
I knew it. The American flag.
Well,
Wait, when did it come out? Grace.
hello. Hi, John. Hi,
Hey, Jane.
Scott.
I think I added you on Instagram.
Oh, thank you. Did I accept you?
I'm not sure. I can't remember which account. I tried to, you show up in the suggestions.
You got a lot. You got a lot. So I'll look into that. So how is the critical thinking forum?
It was good. It's talking about how classism and, that determines in so many ways the outcome of your ethical and moral and integrity and your education as a result. So it's funny hearing international speakers say, yeah, like you have a problem because you're in a city, have no education, and therefore they all have emotional disturbance, disorder.
Is that Tiger?
Yeah, there's another guy who's just like Tiger's doppelganger. They said like the exact same thing.
Not all Asians, but all self-righteous people like that.
I don't know if they're self-righteous, but they're giving their honest opinion, and they live in probably Singapore.
Wow, Singapore is special. Scott, have you been to Singapore?
Yeah.
Me either.
I think to go once.
Yeah?
But yeah, I didn't know that. There's lots of other places I'd rather go.
Go now while you're nice and slim. It's a good time. Not that you're
The
not
yamen-
going. Yeah.
The yamen is already there for that. It's great Hollywood.
John, can you believe Scott's transformation?
What, like his positivity?
Yeah, no, he's always positive. His workout schedule alone. It's impressive to me.
Every day yoga, John. Every day.
Yeah.
At least 10 minutes.
It would be great if we were like 24-year-olds with a great ass, on Instagram, wowing people. I know this girl who has this psychic star chart reading business, her own app, 500,000 followers. She's selling a book. I mean, this chick has made like $500,000 on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, just pushing Scorpio, zodiac, astrology. It's called Astrobella or Astrobella Luna. Anyways, I'm just saying that, marketing and communication and publishing, sex sells, and, Jane doesn't want to be modded in the critical thinking after party.
Yeah, she needs to block.
Well, I can't. You can't because I have too many people blocked that you might like in here. I agree with you. Sex sells, and especially as the mother of a 28-year-old, beautiful, objectively beautiful, not just because she's my daughter. I do think sometimes, is she going to have to just cash in on this? She's getting old. She better try one of these things. She's very into astrology too, John.
Well, it's a little bit like publishing a record or music. It's really all it is. And it's all about how you present it and publish it and, how professional you are and the branding, the image, the consistency. It's like creating, hundreds of spam videos, and hopefully all of your spam videos are super professional because unlike me, I have, people who scream at me and say, "You do yoga in your underpants."
Yes. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. So what?
Well, the thing is, it's like
You might not be 44, but I think you probably got a greater awareness. Probably in college.
couldn't make out what you said, but
You said you're hot, John. He thinks you're hot.
my signal didn't out.
well, Scott's not the individual or the target demographic of who I want, to think that I'm hot. I want some beautiful girls in their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s saying, "You know what, John? Keep doing yoga. Here's another $10."
Get some new underpants. Yeah.
I did. I got new undies, new socks, because I didn't want to have to do any laundry because I had this guy in the basement that I didn't want to have to come across.
If you're in a city, can't you bring it to a wash, dry, and fold place?
No, I got
Get it nice.
I got 2 washing machines in my basement. I just got to get down there. Yeah. So, anyways, we were. Didn't Uncle Steve, wasn't he doing a critical thinking after party? But maybe not tonight. I don't know. I didn't see it. But I'm listening to the Doc show in Got Snatched with Serendipity and Mike, and I've been recording all day. I have a second recording studio in my house, in my yoga room where I live stream. And I will tell you that the amount of time that people are on this app when they have children and jobs and houses and all kinds of responsibilities, it's just absolutely, maybe it's because I'm not an Apple iPod person, but I like siloing, segmenting, categorizing. But I'll tell you, people, I'm doing it right now, but people just love hearing their voice. That's what's happening.
Mike Moon likes that room, so yeah.
I'm a great fan.
Me too. Mike Moon and I had a surreal experience where he wanted to, whatever it's called, private ping me, to have a one-on-one chat. We did, but I couldn't hear him. I mean, he couldn't hear me. But the guy was so into talking. I said in the chat, "I can hear you." So he didn't need me to respond. And I thought, this is great. You don't even have to deal with me. But he was sticking up for Jews. I like that. I like many things about him. Did you see the federal troops or whatever, ICE agents on Canal Street in New York City, Scott?
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And New Yorkers are like, fuck you.
Yeah, they'll send stormtroopers in there.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you view, arresting illegal aliens? I mean, especially the ones that are committing crimes. Like, there's some people running street scams, intimidating people. Like, how do you view Border Patrol or National Guard arresting known criminals who are illegal aliens and aggressive in the street? Like, you're okay with that, right?
I'm totally fine with that. That's not what they're doing.
Well, that is part of what they're doing. I've seen those arrests.
Yeah, no, but that's not the problem. The problem is that everybody's doing that. That's why the polls have changed. It's people who are totally for that. Like, oh, sure, yes, it's criminal, close the border. Absolutely. But that's not what they do. When Stephen Miller says we need to do 1 million with a quota of 1 million, you have a quota. They're just going into Pizza Hut and the kitchens and like, no, I mean, that's the problem. The problem is, I have a friend, conservative from Alabama, and he's totally like, to Trump. He's like, you can't just take that. I mean, he's like, he thinks it's it's underplaying the hair. I mean, it's sort of one of those things where it's just rounding up people. And this is the problem political, right? What the case is. What happens when the law and order, when the order seems more chaotic than the disorder? And that's what happened, right? Because that's why people are, like the poll numbers would go up and one thing of integration. Because people can say, no, we didn't, even among Hispanics that wanted the earlier point, like, so many people are having massive reservations about this.
Go to johnforcongress.com.
Be right back. I'm going to Serendipity's room.
Oh, nice.
Hey, I just want to say, Scott, like, I saw you, like, imitating Donald Trump the other day when it's hilarious, man. Amazing.
I'm like Congressman Kitover. Okay, I think the guy he's fantastic. He's running against one of these I know Republicans. Okay, like kind of like a trans gay Republican. Okay, he's so terrible. The guy that Kitover is running against. I call. We have a big, beautiful bill. I call him the big, beautiful candidate. Okay, Kitover. He's so fantastic. Okay, this man. He's very handsome. He's a very handsome, fantastic guy, Kitover. And he loves me. That's what they say. He's more MAGA than Trump. It's fantastic.
That was actually really funny. So tomorrow, Scott, I got a guy coming on from Craigslist tomorrow at 8 a.m. who is going to rebrand as a campaign coordinator for Campaign to Elect John. So I'm going to have him go into Politically Correct and other rooms and stump for John, candidate John. Are you doing any interviews coming up for your podcast?
Oh yeah, we got big ones. We got a guy from Stanford who's an expert on deliberative democracy. I've got one of the best ancient historians coming up in the country, Ed Lofts, about this book on the right. I mean it's amazing. Yeah, we've got some high quality guests coming in.
So how do you partner with a publishing business to essentially be a publicist?
I don't know.
Because that's what you're doing.
Figure it out for me, John. I'll cut you in.
Yeah, I mean, you're setting the groundwork for being a publicist.
I look pretty thin right now, buddy. I'm looking at myself in the bathroom mirror here. I look pretty thin, Tom.
Well, dude, I had the most amazing dinner last night, and it's not a sin to eat healthy food. It's a sin to eat junk food.
Well, yeah. It matters to kind of calorie food.
Oh, my friend is here. Zach, I was reading a poem the other day called My Friend.
That's beautiful. I just did jujitsu.
Nice.
just did jiu-jitsu yesterday for the first time in a year. It was amazing.
Nice, congratulations.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because I cannot do ki to do no from my dreams.
You mean you're a bitch and your pussy hurts?
That's exactly it. What belt are you?
I am a blue belt. I'm a shitty blue belt. We got some great contribution from Scott right now. Lovely noise from Scott.
Oh, sorry, that was my bad. I didn't know it was you. Thank you for pulling it out critically and saying yes and when you were fast.
I was complimenting you. What belt are you, Carlos?
I'm a blue belt as well.
Oh, nice. Do you know any jiu-jitsu at all? Or are you just a blue belt?
I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. What do you mean?
Well, I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, but I feel like I don't really know any jiu-jitsu at all. I just ended up being a blue belt.
Well, I think that they say you don't really know jiu-jitsu until you get your purple belt. So
right, the blue belt is basically like a committed beginner.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like every blue belt feels the same way. But if you have submitted a few blue belts, then you could. If you haven't submitted any blue belts, then maybe you should get the blue belt. But if you have submitted a few, then feel confident you're a blue belt.
Yeah, I can do some shit. Sometimes, I got one tonight, and they said, "Good job, buddy." But it's a long way to go.
So how long have you been training?
I would say about 3 years.
Maybe
that 2.5 years.
Is completely fake and false, and it's just going to come back to bite us. I mean, it could be from the Democrat side.
I have one.
But anyway, Max is engaged in all that, but he's on his own, and there's absolutely nothing I can do to change him, and there's nothing I can do to change Terry or M. But you can ask Terry and M. I talk to him anytime I see him. I'm sorry if they hurt you personally, and it's not for me. And I don't think anybody should. Everybody's doing this. If they're doing it for the right reasons, they're not making any money off this. It's a volunteer, passionate thing that people are engaged in, and to have to suffer from getting attacked was really beyond the pale. And a lot of people, they get out of it altogether. Then they move states. They leave. Like the last two guys that ran in my spot in the 8th district, one lives in Florida, and one, Larry Cafes, lives in Houston, Texas. They leave. It's really terrible. And I am getting attacked just like Terry and M. Maybe I don't have, a criminal background or whatever, so they make things up. I mean, they completely make things up. And I suppose it's hurtful, but for me personally, what I try to do is I just don't pay attention to it. And I think part of me says I'm probably threatening these bad people that are making stories up about me and saying bad things about me, and for the fact that they're so angry that really I'm over the target. I'm exposing some of these evil people, and they just don't like it. Or let's just say they don't want a guy like me to be in Congress because they don't want a truth teller to be in Congress that's got at least a little bit of a bully pulpit or a microphone to be honest about what's going on in the state of Illinois, especially with regards to our complete and utter failure as conservatives to move the needle. And we've got to, and so part of me thinks, this is sort of it's very messy, it's very ugly, and it's very shameful that these different people, including my own son, are attacking each other. And it does get to the point of being juvenile because they're talking about silly, crazy things sometimes. But whether it's juvenile or not, part of it is, this is what disruption looks like. When, the status quo is completely broken, and for that to change, it's not going to change with the status quo smiling. They're going to kick and they're going to scream and they're going to make up stories and they're going to attack the people that they're afraid of. And so that's going on. So all that's to say that, like you say, he's my son. I love him. I will never not love him. Is he right 100% of the time? Nobody is. Like God is. Nobody's right 100% of the time, but he is right some of the time. But the toxic business where people are just calling each other names and trying to hurt each other personally, I think that's just wrong across the board. But it's not just Max. It goes both directions and all different directions. And this week is a great example of it. Like I said, with Tom DeVore and Dan Proft and Jeannie Ives, and how are they any different from M or Terry or Max? It's kind of the same thing. They're just all arguing. They don't trust each other, and we're not going to agree on everything, like you say. But frankly, we agree on most things. So I would like, and by the way, you're talking to a guy that sent Don Tracy a letter, actually all the GOP leadership, before I knew how weak and feckless they really were. I offered to pay for, they're called they're like psychologists. They're like people that are involved with conflict resolution, just to try to get all these different people together in the room and hash out what we agree on and hash out what we disagree on, but put a map together, because we all agree we must start winning elections to change policy, because people make policy. And if we don't, we're going to have Pritzker and Johnson and these evil communist progressive types completely controlling our lives. So can't we just hold our nose? And if we don't like somebody's background, or you're pro-life or I'm pro-life and you're pro-choice, who cares? The bigger picture is, let's figure a way to work together at least a little bit, or let's at least try not to tear each other down and try to win some elections. So I'm just, for myself, I've got blinders on a little bit, I'll admit. I'm focused on winning elections, because if we aren't going to win some elections, none of that stuff matters. We're going to be living in China or Russia. I'm going to be, me, or probably you too, we're going to be in a what do they call it? A re-education camp. These people are freaking nuts. I went by the No Kings thing, we've got nut jobs running our state, and they're completely in control. And we're fighting over like some of these issues. I don't even know I have no idea what Max and you got in a spat over, but they're like small little petty things. We need to get over that and try to figure a way to work, at least not work against each other. And if we could work together. That would be much, much better, and try to turn some of these things around.
All right, thanks, Mark. Thanks for addressing it, and I appreciate you being open about it. This is going to be the last question of this topic, and then we'll move on. And
like I said, nothing's sacred. You can ask me anything, my family.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you being candid about it.
Yeah, 100%.
And the last question that I have is that I think he was helping you with your campaign, or was at least involved in it last time. And from what I've heard and talked to some of the people that I trust and I'm close to, there are people not too happy about it, or it, set off people, some of the people at least, right? So is he going to be involved?
That's another rumor. That's
okay. So that, and that's fine. And if it's not true,
President
then
Trump
you can address that. And my question
he's my son, so he'll give me advice, or he'll, just like you.
Okay, so that was
advice.
Right. So that was my question. That will he be involved in your current campaign? And the answer is
he really hasn't been. And he writes this blog, which I'm sure you know about, the Illinois Record, and it's. That can't be a part of. That's not my campaign. That's what he does, and I get. For him, it's a calling. I think it's from his heart, and I can't stop him from doing it. But it certainly has nothing to do with my campaign or my wanting to win an election. And his agenda is probably similar to all of ours. I mean, we all want to sort of right this ship, which is sinking. And part of it is calling out the evil Democrats and what they're doing. Okay, taxes are way too high, obviously. The whole, I didn't want to go through it all on everything, the schools, the gender, the DEI, on everything. Things are upside down. They're completely against where we know as conservative people things need to be. But it's actually a good conversation. We can even have it here. Does that mean that we should, if we're in a dysfunctional family, should we just sweep that under the rug and just pretend like it doesn't exist and try to win even with some of that cancer and dysfunction? Or should we address it even in our own party? And I don't know exactly how to address it. Like I said, I was for, having professionals try to help with that. But, where people are against each other, and at least try to minimize that so that we can work together to win, that's probably just as important as identifying all the evil and all this terribleness that the Democrats are foisting onto all of us, and addressing that. Because I talked to Ted Dabrowski. He's a friend. I know you had him on. And, I've talked to him way before he was involved in governor. And we talk about that like on policy, we win. These are 80-20 issues, and we can talk about them. I think it's kind of boring, but, we can talk about the failing schools and what they did to us during COVID and just all these obvious, terrible things that even Democrats agree with us on. And by the way, I spoke before about, there's 14 Democrats in U.S. Congress out of 17. So, Boss, Miller, and LaHood are the only 3 Republicans. 3 out of 17 is 18%. And we voted for Trump 45%. And everybody says, oh, well, gerrymandering is terrible. You can look at the other states like California, New York, and other blue states. We're worse than almost anybody in the country. And I would submit it's not just the headwind of the Democrats, cheating or Pritzker's money or the gerrymandering, but all of that is certainly true. But we're batting so far below our weight, that I think that we do have to, do a little bit of looking in the mirror and figuring out what we can do to try to actually start putting some wins on the board. And by the way, if we went from 3 seats to 6 seats, that would be amazing. But we'd still only be 6 out of 17, and that would be, what would that be? That'd be 36%. But we'd still be 10 points below where we should be. So that's why my son, I guess Max, thinks he wants to address that and the Democrats, and he writes articles and he gets in fights with people and all that. That's him. That's not me. My thing is, I'd like to lead by example, win some elections, show people the reason why we lose elections, because it's not just that we have inter-party fighting or that we have no resources, that all so many good people are leaving the state, moving to Florida and Tennessee and Texas, and leading the country in out-migration and all that. It's not just that. It's that we have chosen to bury our heads in the sand and not get with modern electioneering and like they are in other states, even blue states, to at least win the races that we should be able to win. And that's terribly frustrating to me as somebody who's just logical and a business guy. I'm a self-made entrepreneur. I'm pretty successful. I know how to turn things around. I've gone into situations where they were pretty bleak and at kind of a low point. And you've got to identify what the problems are. And clearly some of that stuff that Max writes about in that Illinois record, or that you guys probably talk about, or that Jeannie Ives and DeVore and so forth, that they're all arguing about, these are real things. And I think it's probably best that we don't just sweep it under the rug, ignore it, and do the same old thing. I think we need to change some of this. And so talking about the ugly truth, but then having a plan to do something about it, I think is what is needed. And like I said, I talked to Ted, I talked to Darren, I was with at that dinner on Monday night, and I was with Mendrick. It's a small world. We all know each other. And I'm so sick of people just talking about the same old crap that loses us elections every time. It's the same thing. And that is the definition of insanity. And I'm the only guy yelling and screaming, look, guys, look at what Trump said to do. Look at what Cliff Maloney said to do. Look what they did in Pennsylvania. Look what they did in Michigan. Look what they did in these other places. Why don't we do that? It's clear that it works now. Maybe 3 years ago you say, well, that will never work. But we have the receipts. It works. And why is it me? Marty McLaughlin's kind of with me. And I mean, I've got some other people, but in general, I'm really the only guy in the state yelling and screaming about this stuff. And that's a bit frustrating because we all want to win.
Right. Well, thanks for answering the questions. I'm going to go to Carla on this topic. And I think, Carla, you'd like to voice in on this. So go ahead.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me up, and thanks, Mark. I had two main goals that I could. The first one is rebuilding the party from the precinct committeeman level up, the PCs, getting those PCs filled. Right now, we have a vacancy that's just ridiculous, and I'm sure you know that. But the second one is restoring election integrity. I'm really passionate about election integrity, and you've mentioned that you support and actively participate in ballot harvesting, and you, from what it sounds like, you believe that's the only way forward. But I don't know if everyone on this call understands what ballot harvesting actually entails.
Exactly.
But I'd like for you to explain how you go about doing ballot harvesting.
Love it. I love that. Is your name's Carla?
Yes.
Carla, thank you so much. That's great to hear. So let's talk about that. First of all, on the I agree. It would be great if we could build a robust system of PCs for every precinct in the whole state. But my district's in DuPage, Kane, and Cook, and those their whole townships with like say 70 precincts, and there isn't even one precinct captain, not one, or there's not even a committee man. No budget, no meetings, no organization, no nothing. One of mine is Addison. Addison just fell apart. Maine Township actually used to have people. It's sort of fallen apart, although they're trying to rebuild that. It's gotten so bad that I think it's incumbent upon candidates. Now, I'm not talking about downstate, south of I-80. I'm talking about, Chicagoland area where there really is no party. I mean, let's face it. But I'm all for doing that, but it's not going to happen by a year from November. It's going to take a long time, and it's got to be built, like you make a watch, one piece at a time. And I'm all for helping that. Now, I love what you asked about ballot harvesting, because this is where I think we all, once you understand what it is, you can understand why I really don't even care about. I mean, I care. I would love to have every precinct with a precinct captain, and I would love to have a committee man for every township or every area, every county, et cetera. But it's just not in the cards, at least not today. We need to try to build that. I would submit to you, if we start winning elections, and these people who put up their time and treasure to try to turn this thing around, and they get, excuse me, but shit on. I mean, we lose. And they put all this money and time in, they have nothing to show for it. They tend to give up. So that's what we're dealing with, is a lot of apathy and a lot of people leaving. And the way to turn that around is to win. So now, how do we win? So ballot harvesting is really not something that the party can do. And they talk about it because it's a nice buzzword. And so Kathy Salvi will put out some nice emails, making it sound like she knows what ballot harvesting is. And they're going to do it. Remember last year they had their gala was the Bake the Vote gala. I mean, come on. It was a complete joke. The money, any money that they netted out of that, the part that went for what they would call banking the vote had nothing to do with ballot harvesting. It was sending out some emails to people and maybe some letters. I actually heard where the money went, and I wanted to vomit in my mouth, so I don't know if I heard the whole thing. But what ballot harvesting is, it's not what the party would ever do. It's hiring full-time employees to work 6 days a week, even sometimes 7 days a week. Typically, those employees are assigned anywhere from 10 to 20 precincts, and they identify in each precinct anywhere from, say, 50 to 100 of those persuadable, low propensity voters. And you just need the data for that. And we all have access to the data, both the consumer data and the voting data. So once you have that list of people who aren't going to vote at all, not by mail and not in person, if we can persuade those voters to vote by making it really easy to vote, if we can't, give them a ride to the polls, we can actually just drive to their house and pick up their ballot by having them register to vote by mail, then we'll get 50 to 100 extra votes per precinct. But to do that, as you guys know, because I think a lot of you guys on this, I'm sensing, are pretty actively involved in electioneering, is it just takes a lot of work. So we're talking about texting them, calling them, mailing them, that's all, and emailing them. That's obviously very expensive. And then ultimately door knocking them, setting an appointment, not just randomly going on a nice Saturday or something, but making sure that we actually meet with these people. You first have to persuade them to sign the vote by mail form. And these are people that are Republicans. So we know they're going to vote Republican. They don't need to know my name or anybody's name. They just need to know that we lose elections because they don't vote. And you make them feel a little bit guilty about it and make it really simple and easy for them to change that by signing the vote by mail form. A little different, but but at the end of the day, they sign the form. We actually turn that form in, so we make sure that they get it. And then when they in turn receive the vote by mail ballot, and it comes in the mail, and we'll know when that is from each county because they have to report that by law. The same person, not a different person, the same person goes back out and collects that ballot and persuades that voter to vote. But they don't even have to leave their couch. All they have to do is fill it out. We know they're going to vote Republican. We're going to encourage them to vote Republican as well. And we're going to collect that ballot, and then we're going to physically hand it in. We're not going to mail it in the mail, trusting USPS. And if the successful ballot, I'm giving out too much information, by the way, because I'm telling you the real numbers. This is what the Democrats do, and this is what Trump did. And frankly, I have a primary, so I don't really want my primary opponents to necessarily know the secret sauce. But anyway, they probably won't be on here. So I may not give you. Call me after this if you want the real complete details. But
no, I appreciate your response. I just have some pushback on it because.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I think your persuading more sounds like bullying. And I really have a difficult time with that. Because I feel going back and just going back and back and back with these people.
Wait, help me with that. Why is that bullying to tell somebody, we have your voting record, we know you don't vote, you haven't voted in 6 years, but you used to, we'd like you to vote. Why is that bullying?
Because you keep going back constantly. You don't just accept.
Well, it's sales. It's. Do you know in sales what point of contact you need to have? How many points of contact? It's 8.
Selling a ballot. That's my point. I'm not selling a ballot. But
you really are. You're selling the opportunity to vote to people that don't vote.
But besides that, once a ballot leaves the voters' hands, that you guys are bullying them to get them over, and how does that not break the chain of custody?
Because it's legal. Now, by the way, I'm against it from a moral standpoint. I think it's terrible. I don't think we should have that in the state of Illinois. But we're always going to have it unless we start winning some elections and get some conservatives in there.
But how are you going to win elections by participating in something we know is full of fraud?
Now nothing that I suggested had any bit of fraud. Now, I'll admit there are people that forge.
Mail is fraud. That's what you're saying. You don't believe that vote by mail or this ballot harvesting has any fraudulent.
No, I do. I think that Democrats do that. I think Republicans, we just don't even engage. So we do very little. Look, I won my election. Help me with this. Okay, I won my election against Raza with $8 million, 10 years of name recognition. Anybody that voted in person, I won the in-person vote on the day of election. I won the in-person vote in early voting, but I lost the mail-in vote 5-1. I got 20% to 80%. So I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but that shows me that unless we can improve that category, we will continue to lose. And I don't like the rules that they are the way they are, but they are. So if we don't take advantage of it, we're just playing into the Democrats' hands. They'll continue to eat our lunch.
But that's what I'm afraid of, is because we are playing into the Democrats' hands. Because just because the Democrats do it doesn't make it right. It doesn't.
So let me give this analogy. I want to push back on you. So the NFL used to be you scored a touchdown and you get 6 points. And then they put up goalposts. And they said you can kick it after and get an extra point. And you can also kick field goals and get 3 points. And there were a lot of purists of football said, that's terrible. You've changed the rules. And so they could just say, well, you can do that, but we're not going to do that because we like the way that it should be, or we like the way it used to be. And that's fine, but they will lose forever.
But what happens? So if the Democrats deflate the ball a little bit to help it get over, whatever football analogy you want to use, I'm not a football player, but I know there's ways to cheat in football. So if they just do that, well, we need to do that because they get away with it.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about cheating at all.
Chain of custody, and when you break the chain of custody, you're breaking the trust in our ballot.
Okay, so listen, I want you to know and everybody to know. So United Sovereigns of America is supposed to have a lawsuit actually with me as the defendant and Trump actually helping to pay the legal bill to sue for election integrity on my own race. So I'm completely in line with you that we don't want cheating, right? But I'm
the people spend their resources on helping build the Republican Party back up instead of trying to do everything the Democrats do. Our Republican Party is completely broken because there's no resources being spent on developing precinct committeemen. It's broken that way because
but I explained to you how I won, in Kane County, all us Republican candidates, we all won the in-person vote. We all lost the vote by mail,
President
and we
Trump
all
doesn't
lost overall. Okay, so we could continue to do the same thing, but we're going to continue to lose unless we change the we'll win, actually. If we just do the same thing, we can win the in-person vote, but we can't win the vote by mail category unless we get those people. And let me tell you, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of Republicans or conservatives that have apathy. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it's my vote doesn't count.
Because there's no one in their neighborhood that's represented in the Republican Party to get out and encourage them to vote. It's broken. And
no, I agree that we don't have that effort, but that effort isn't enough. What the Democrats do.
No effort. Is your precinct full?
No, actually, no. There's mine's Aaron Del Mar's. There's nothing. There's nobody doing anything.
Why wait on Del Mar? Why isn't your precinct committeeman full?
Because I'm explaining to you that the way that we lose is that the Democrats are out there ballot harvesting, and we're saying ballot harvesting has or could have a lot of fraud. So let's just not do it. Let's let them do it because we're better than them. We're more moral than they are, and let them win all these elections. And people like me that are actually true conservatives and want to make a difference, we're never going to have a chance to get in there and change the laws, including voter integrity look, I would like to have no vote by mail. I'd like to have same-day voting and paper ballots, get rid of the machines.
Well, what do you do to try to make that happen?
You have to win first. That's what I'm trying to show you. It's like the chicken and the egg.
No. We have to build our party back up so we can educate the voters. Right? The voters are not being educated at the ground level.
Okay, so you think if we educate the voters?
Yes.
Okay, I have a choice. I'm a voter. I don't really care that much about voting. I don't vote very often. It just is what it is. We know. I can tell you that when I go out in my district and any other district, and I say, who's your congressman? I'd say 1% of the people know. What?
Ask them who the precinct committeeman is.
Well, for sure, they don't know that, but they don't even know their congressman.
That's my point.
So they know this is my point. So that's the low propensity voters. They don't really know. Maybe they don't care so much. If they have to go wait in line for 2 hours and hope that they're in town and hope that it's not raining or snowing and to vote, versus somebody who has to do nothing, and they make it so easy. All they have to do is sit on their couch and fill out a piece of paper and hand it to the nice young woman or man that's helping them. You're going to get a lot more votes that way, a lot more. And that's it's called legal ballot harvesting. It's completely legal, and it's actually, it's been bastardized with COVID.
Imagine,
but it's,
instead of going after him for vote no, you went after him with explaining how the party works. The reason people don't want to vote is because they don't trust the party. They don't trust the Illinois Republican Party. And until you're going to have apathy voters. No one believes the vote matters.
But that's what we're fighting against. I'm just submitting to you what you call bullying, I call concierge service. Making it easy for somebody to vote just by reminding them, not bullying them, but just by reminding them that it is important.
Go back to them before you give up on them.
Wait, what's that?
Let me interject for a second. I think what Mark is trying to say is that, if a person clearly tells you that, hey, I'm not interested or I'm not going to vote, I think you cross them off, right? And if you're going back to them, then you're bullying them. But if you can't get a hold of that person, or if the person is like, oh, I'm busy right now, can you come back later or something like that, right? Most people would drop that, but that's where these people would stay on that as a lead and make sure that they are able to connect and get a yes or a no. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's very similar to sales in that way. And I have 200 people that work for me primarily engaged in sales. And I know some, I not that I'm, famous, but I've written books and articles on the sales process. And I'm sorry, but this is a sale. You're selling somebody. It's their God-given right to vote. But a lot of people, as we know, most people don't take advantage of it. And so we have to sell them on the idea that it is important and they should do it. And if you could figure a way to get people just to have like their neighbor committee man who has, even a good committee man, don't forget, I'm talking about hiring full-time employees that are going to work, 10 hours a day. And basically, by the way, they only have to get about 1,000 votes in 4 months. You can do the math. It's very doable. And in fact, they've done it in Pennsylvania. They're doing it in New Jersey right now. They've done it in a lot of states. It works. It just works. And we could do it and should do it, I believe, in Illinois, but we don't do it. And if it's just because we have some people who are very principled and they don't agree with it because it seems immoral, I totally understand that, but we will continue to lose. We just won't get those voters that have a lot of apathy or don't really care or busy or whatever. And that is a lot of people. And we're never going to get those people to vote. And if we think we can wrangle up a bunch of PCs and get them motivated and they're going to work, I'm telling you, these ballot harvesters work 10 hours a day. Even a good PC works, an hour on a nice Saturday, maybe, if it's nice out, they don't, you can't get volunteers to do this kind of work, and you can't get volunteers to follow up. Like, well, I can't see you today, but maybe I'm available Wednesday. Try getting volunteers to do that. I've tried. It's very difficult, even when you have good volunteers. They don't have the time. They're giving of their time, and so you can't really expect it to be done by this volunteer army that we wish we had, and we could, in a fantasy world, we could suspend disbelief and say we could get them. I will tell you that one paid, trained, motivated, managed ballot harvester is worth 100 PCs. I hope you're not offended by that, but just, do the math. This guy's working, 10 hours a day, every day. And his livelihood, and they're getting paid well. They're getting paid like, $3,000-4,000 a month, and they can make even more money if they do well. And they're, frankly, if their candidates win, they have a good chance to maybe get a job offer when the campaign's over. And you want to hear something that I bet will really amaze you guys? I think, AC, I told you that one of the KPIs, or one of the, SOP, standard operating procedure for this activity, is these ballot, you're really going to hate this, Carla, is these ballot harvesters, they're not even local people. They're supposed to live like 100 to 200 miles away at a minimum. So this is like an army. These are like young people typically that parachute in, and they're living there through the duration. They're not going to their soccer game or their girlfriend, boyfriend's house. They're working, and they take it really serious. And that's how you turn this thing around. That's how you get 50 to 100 people in a precinct that don't normally vote. That's how you get them to vote. And not bullying them, just reminding them, just sending them emails, sending them texts, knocking on their door, listening to what concerns they have, and then showing them simply by voting, they can actually change some of those concerns they have by voting in their local, whatever it is, the local trustee or the local Congress or whatever. And if it didn't work, I wouldn't be so vociferous about this, but we know it works. Trump told us to do it, in fact, but we just didn't. I did it a little bit, by the way, and I got more votes than anybody got in 20 years. I got like 90% more votes than the 4-year previous guy, although he was an independent. But I mean, at 100%, this thing works. And I understand the ethical question. You say, well, why should I do something that I think is unethical just because the Democrats do it? And that's a good argument. We could talk philosophically about that for a long time. But I think we really got to just play by the rules as they are and try to win elections. And if we can win some elections, we can try to change those rules. But we're never going to change them unless we start winning. And I do not believe that the party is going to rebuild itself magically and somehow start winning elections without taking advantage of the rules such as they are, instead of the way we want them to be.
Well, you can tell you're a politician. You like those long answers. I'm just going to quit.
Oh, I hate that.
Well, I'm going to have to agree to disagree on this.
Yeah.
But I encourage everyone on this call to listen to what David Clemens, he's the professor on record, has been sharing about election integrity and the risks of these systems, especially the ones that they've been calling out, that he has been sharing, that the statistics that they're showing, they've got statistics that counter that. So I just encourage everyone to do your own homework. Go in. David Clements. He lays it out clearly and backs it up with facts that I'm not going to bore everyone here tonight, but please do your homework. And just remember what our moms always said, if someone's going to jump off a bridge, doesn't mean we need to jump off the bridge too. If we want God to bless us, we have to keep the moral high ground. I absolutely believe that 100%. Once a ballot leaves the voters' hands without proper tracking, there's no way to prove it was handled correctly. There's no clear record of who took possession of it. There's no clear record when it changed hands. There's no clear record of when it was even delivered or when it was open. That destroys the paper trail that keeps our elections verifiable. It destroys transparency. And when we decide that that's the path we're going, we are going to lose our nation. We're going to lose our state. So I can agree to that. So I'm just going to agree to disagree, but I will say I appreciate your back and forth, and I appreciate.
Yeah, Carl, I appreciate everything you say, and I'm a religious person myself. I'm an Orthodox Jew, and we actually believe. I mean, it's Old Testament, but most Christians, I think, agree that we should just follow the laws of the land that we live in, and the laws in the land that we live in Illinois is ballot harvesting is a legal activity, and so that's how I justify that. Because, like I said, I don't like it. When I get in Congress, I'm going to vote or do the best I can to try to change in the state of Illinois. I'll be federal, not state, but still to change all of those things to make it more moral and to get rid of all those things that fellow you're talking about. I read so much about voter integrity and all the things that we need to do to try to correct that. But I think that I do believe in God, and I find this as a calling to try to communicate that the way that we can do that is to get at least some power and not be in the super minority in the state or federally for the state of Illinois, and to make those changes. So you follow the rules, you follow the laws, you get in there and you make all those changes to make sure that illegals aren't voting and that they're not forging signatures. And by the way, it's true that the chain of custody isn't one person because they're handing that ballot over to another person, but we need to get to people's doors and we need to register them to vote. As long as they're somewhat conservative, we need to get them to vote. I mean, that seems to be completely obvious. And we need to do everything we can with election judges
and with poll watchers and with lawfare, lawsuits and lawyers to make sure we're doing everything to stop the steal. I'm 100% for that. And by the way, my campaign even put up signs in Spanish. Maybe you guys know Jacqueline. Jacqueline was my campaign manager, Jacqueline Garrison. We made signs, and Jacqueline put them up in, for instance, in Elgin, and the cops came to take the signs down, and all they said, it was in Spanish, so that the illegals could read it, like, don't vote if you're illegal. If you vote and you're illegal, you're going to jail or you're going to be deported, something like that. But that was freedom of speech, First Amendment. We were allowed to do that. And the police came, and they couldn't even take the signs down. And as I understand it, and perhaps part of that lawsuit that I explained to you from that organization, is that there were a few people that did. I mean, I know for a fact that some illegals voted, but anyway, some then read our sign in Spanish, and they were given $50 to vote because they had a driver's license and a social security number. And then they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know, this wasn't allowed in Spanish." They said that, and here, please give me my ballot back. So I mean, I know there's cheating, and I don't like it, but praying about it is great, and I do pray for it, but I think God wants us to do something about it. And to me, it is just so clear, as a person who's like very clear-eyed and nuts and bolts trying to figure out this whole very dirty political business in this dirty state, which has been built on corruption for generations. This isn't something new. How can we change it? We've got to start ballot harvesting, and that would enable people like me to win instead of lose. That is the difference.
All right, thanks, Mark. Vernon Township, I know you had your hand up. Did you have any question for Mark, or did you want to add anything to the conversation?
Can you hear me okay? Hi, it's Mel.
Yep.
Are you going to family weekend in Iowa? Or
I'm
parents
not.
weekend, you're not? Okay.
No, it's just the worst time. It's crowded. Everything's taken. My son doesn't want me there on top of it. So
Okay. We're going up very, very briefly, just doing a quick thing like Saturday night. So I just wanted to ask.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Awesome. You'll have to let me know how it goes. So
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You guys, everybody who's been on this space and hears me yap or whatever, I yell all the time. This is a sales position. Being a precinct committeeman is a sales position. Mark, I met you briefly at a McHenry event a while ago. I'm Mel with Vernon Township Republicans. I'm vice chair under Jay Swidler.
Yeah.
So thank you for running again, because I do always thank candidates. If you're going to do it again, that's awesome. That's where the hard stuff happens and where the most hope is, I think. So thank you for running again. And I put some things in the chat just to fill in the flavor, because I don't know if everybody knows exactly what's going on the end of the Bailey camp and Brett Corrigan moving from the Bailey camp to the new governor, who just has been 2 weeks. And I know you were talking about that, so I put a couple of things, and also with Illinois record, because I know that not everybody is going to be familiar with your son and some of his, opinions and stuff like that. So just wanted to disclose that I did put that down there for people. Maybe look at it later. But on the subject of ballot harvesting, this is what pisses me off. And as a precinct committeeman and in an organization, wouldn't it be great if they paid our PCs $4,000 a month to frickin' do what we're already doing anyway? Yeah. That's part of the problem, I believe. And you're absolutely right. In Vernon, we found that 4 to 6 contacts per year, no matter if it's an election or not, can increase turnout in the precincts that we do it in. And we have coverage about 30%. So we've kind of over 2 years established, that obviously that does work. And we're not, that's what the Dems do. We're targeting the squishy, even soft R's or persuadables, like people who don't vote in every election. I mean, if you really want to, have an exercise in craziness, you can go to those Dem doors. You can go to those quote unquote independent doors or whatever. But even the persuadable R's, it is just, building a relationship with them. You're not bullying anyone. That first contact is, what are your issues? What are you concerned about? Do you know that we exist? Do you know that you have a precinct committeeman? Do you know where to vote? And the more you contact them, they're more likely to show up and vote. And as far as ballot harvesting, that's where I understand both sides of the argument. But if we had the infrastructure in there where you're an elected precinct committeeman, if we had elected precinct committeemen in all of these precincts taking care and managing their turf, then you're an official candidate. You are an elected representative, and the ballot harvesting morality would be, it would be softened a little bit, because I know so-and-so at 123 Elm Street, and they gave me permission and told me come pick up my ballot because I can't make it out there or whatever.
Right.
And what you're talking about is what frustrates everybody in the grassroots, in my opinion, is that when election time comes around, candidates have huge budgets, they got a lot of money, and they can, I heard in an event last night that the new governor guy is paying like maybe $20 to $30 per signature. So he can get, the minimum and, some extra. Now, we've got precinct committee people who do that rain, shine, and it's not, in Vernon, we don't train our PCs to just show up on a random Saturday. We're trying to get away from that, but it is a volunteer job.
Yeah, we have lives, right? You've got kids
but
in
we
church.
we have built-in systems that, we're texting people, we're emailing them, we're going to the door, and we're doing all the other stuff. So, yeah, it's sales. I tell all the groups out there, like, if you want to get precinct committeemen and find, the best ones out there, get someone who just likes talking to people and like selling shit.
Exactly.
You are selling Republican. You're selling, we can infight, we can have our disagreements. And really, honestly, in the past couple weeks, I'm like, this is more of a shit show than I've seen, and I haven't been here a long time.
It's bad, yeah.
But we still got to sell this shit. So it is what it is, and I just wanted to contribute on that end and say, whatever the debate is, if you want something to stop, if you want something that the Democrats are totally taking advantage of and you want it to stop, just do it better than them.
That's right.
We've seen it with
That's
the
the best way to stop, right?
The gerrymandering argument in Texas or whatever. If you can beat them at their own game, then suddenly they're going to have a problem.
Exactly. The best way to stop it is just to do it ourselves, and then they'll want to stop it too because it isn't working for them. So I have a lot of confidence that when I win this time, and I can bring up a bunch of state reps and state senate. Actually, my district, half the state senators and half the state reps are Republican. People don't even believe that when I tell them. But anyway, if we can bring up some challengers, when was the last time we won any? I don't remember the last time we won some of those races. But they'll know we did it from ballot harvesting. Maybe that'll persuade some of these people that are reading the Bible instead of reading the election results. That we've got to do something to make a difference to move this in. And by the way, I didn't tell you guys. But so my business, I had as many as 3,000 independent contractor salespeople working for me. So I have a lot of experience managing salespeople. Now we're inside sales, and we've only got a little less than 200 people, but they're full-time, not independent contractors selling. So I know something about selling, and I'm trying to apply exactly that to the activity of just it's so much easier to get somebody that doesn't vote to fill out a little piece of paper than getting them to write a check for a product or a service. It's a much easier sale. So I've only hired like 3 or 4 people so far, and we're just getting started, and I don't have the most money in the world, but like my budget to flip a whole U.S. congressional district is only about $900,000. And it may sound like a lot, but it's really not a lot for a U.S. congressional district to flip. And I could show you the numbers. It actually comes to $30 a vote, $30 a new vote, not getting somebody that would vote in person to vote by mail. That doesn't count. These are new voters that wouldn't vote otherwise. It comes to $30 a vote. You get 1,000 basically voters. That's 30,000. The worker gets $30,000 for working like 5 months to do it. And I'm telling you, this is like cookie cutter stuff. It just works. The Democrats do it. The Republicans do it everywhere that they can, except for Illinois. And it's actually it's too long for this Twitter space, but I always wonder, why is it we don't get that message? Why aren't we doing it? Are we controlled opposition and the Democrats
want to make sure that we don't do it, or is it, is it we're useful idiots? I mean, what is it that we don't identify? Why do we lose from an electioneering standpoint purely, and why don't we engage in the behavior to fix that? And honestly, we're just not doing it. So I'm just trying to do it in one district, but that's also like 5 Senate districts and 10 state rep districts and a bunch of other, county board seats and stuff like that. And if I can have success, that'll be a nice example. And it won't be with the party's support. It'll frankly be with like people like Aaron Del Mar and stuff. Although Darren Bailey's my friend, so I don't know. But there's people against me just for the fact that maybe they don't like my son. That's why Aaron's against me. But others, because what I'm suggesting is something different. And they're very comfortable with their little jobs and their little titles, and maybe they're partners with a consultant or two, and they make a little money off the newbie candidates who are too stupid to know what they're doing. And it's like a little racket that's been going on too long, and I would like to change all that. But really the only way I know to change it is to start winning and to lead by example. So that's what I'm doing.
All right, thanks, Mark. Mark, so in essence, it would work either if there's a candidate who's got a pretty good budget, or in a district, if some of the candidates can kind of pool their resources,
yes,
so as to be able to hire such employees, correct?
Yep.
That would be the right
That's exactly
strategy.
what I'm doing. That's what I am doing.
Okay.
Not planning, I'm actually doing it. I'm partnering right now with, I can't say actually on here, but I whatever. I have agreements with other candidates only because we have some primaries and I have a primary, but in general, we're trying to partner. So let's say I told you it takes $900,000 to flip a district. That'll basically get you about 30,000 votes, new votes. So if you're in a congressional district that the delta is 30,000 for 900 grand, you can do it. But if you have some state senators and state reps and county board members, et cetera, that also are interested in winning and flipping something, and even some incumbents, because I've got a couple incumbents that are partnering with me because they're nervous, about losing their election because it's Trump is in and it's a midterm, and they buy the argument that we lose seats in that situation anyway. But so instead of 900, it's 450. Right? If I just get one person to partner with me, it's half that. And if you get 2 or 3 or 4, all of a sudden it's really it becomes very manageable. And I will tell you, we have candidates who stupidly spend their money on mail and digital and billboards and all this crap. Which some of it works. It has some benefit. And I'm guilty of it too. I've got the thousands of yard signs and we've done digital and all that. But all those things have something in common. And this hasn't been brought up yet, which is that the consultants, or the consultant class, many of whom are partners with leadership in different GOP orgs, let's just say, they make money off that. They make a lot of money. If I spend 900,000 with CORE, and by the way, I name names. I'm not a wuss. I've got, I'm from Texas. I don't mess around. So if they spend it with one of these consultants, then 20% of that, 30% of that is going to go to party insiders and or the consultants themselves, and they're going to make 300 grand off me. If I spend $900,000 to actually try to win instead by hiring people and managing them and so forth in this ballot harvesting operation, the consultants will make zero. So when you read articles or you hear people against the activity of ballot harvesting, I frankly think that has a lot to do with it. It's self-preservation of the consultant class and their grifter friends. And I'm sure everybody on here knows who I'm talking about. I mean, in any county, you've got people making money off of losing, essentially, and running elections. And then, by the way, the candidates feel like they got ripped off, which they did, and they don't run again. That's why almost nobody runs twice. Like, I'm the first guy to run twice in a row in my district. And I told people when I ran, or some people that gave me money said, I'll only give you money if you promise to run twice. And so anyway, so I committed to doing that. And, now I have an open seat, which is, wait, by the way, how about this? Does anybody here know what percentage of the time in the nation and Illinois is no different, what percentage of the time does a opponent running against an incumbent, either Democrat or Republican, it's the same number, what percentage of time do they win? Anybody guess what that number is? Because I know.
Tosi, go ahead. What's your guess, Tosi?
Hey, yes, I know, Mark. Hi, everyone. My name is Tasi Ufadike.
Hey, Tasi.
And I'm the Republican candidate for District 51. Only 3% of the times do you beat an incumbent. It's extremely hard. People act like it's very, very hard to do because obviously incumbents have name recognition. They've been in the seat. They use funds to publicize their time in office. So it's very, very hard. Yeah.
But what a joke. Like Tasi and I both ran, again, Tasi's in my district. We both ran against an incumbent last time. I actually got in a fight with her incumbent's father. Remember that in the parking lot? But he's like a jihadist, crazy guy. But anyway, now Tasi's running in an open seat, as am I. So our odds, Tasi, I think, go from 3% chance to 50% chance. But you and I are going to have to do it without the party helping us because we're not going to kiss the ring and play their stupid games and give our money to the grifter consultants like I was talking about. But I think we both can win.
Actually, I did want to go to Tasi for that. So, Tasi, now you've had some experience with the petition season here and stuff. So, what are your thoughts on that? You've talked to a lot of people, motivated voters, motivated voters. What's your take on this strategy?
I actually, like Mark was saying earlier, he used the word stupid when you first run. I wouldn't use the word stupid. I would just say you're so optimistically naive. Like you just think you're a Republican. So when you come in, you think everybody loves Trump and we're in the Republican Party and we're all like excited. And then you start hearing about the never Trumpers and the grifters and the people who don't really want to see Republicans win and unfortunately take votes like Democrats. And I just call it naive. But anyway, the ballot harvesting, Mark has been a big champion about that. I didn't know about it, but as I'm doing research, our last election, so I'm an Ela Township PC. Our last election, we were a conservative board and we lost and became Democratic. We have a Democrats in power. What they did, and we found this after we were doing research, there was some in-party fighting, but beside that, there was a lot of ballot harvesting and the Democrats did it. They went to elderly homes, we found out senior living centers, and they brought the absentee ballots and they didn't use the term ballot harvesting, but that's exactly what they did. And they won. So I don't know why our leadership won't be open to the idea of at least looking into it, putting some resources. We've tried everything else and we've lost, right, as Republicans. So why not try this? I think it's a great, great way, a different way. And I agree with Mark on what he says. I just don't know why the party is not behind it. But I think moving forward, like you said, this time around, I'm really, really optimistic. I mean, we just have a great strategy. On Monday, I was at the Lincoln Day dinner. Mark was there. Everybody that's running for office was there. And it was really a good, exciting time for Republicans. When I've been out knocking doors, I've been listening to voters. Of course, I'm in a purple district, so I'm honest. Not everybody in my district, even Republicans, likes Trump. But we focus on the issues. We're going to make the lives of my constituents a lot better. We're going to make sure that we fight for low taxes with the cost of living. There's so much stuff that's going on. Education, making sure parents have a voice in their child's education. I'm pro-life unapologetically. And I know Republicans say, oh my God, don't say those words. But, you got to stay true to who you are. And when I talk to voters, they actually appreciate that. It doesn't mean I'm not going to listen to everybody in my district, but I am who I am. And, this time around, we've done the petitions. I actually like that. It's been a very grassroots operation, meaning that I don't have the HRO getting me petitions. I don't have the Illinois Policy Institute getting me petitions. I'm a PC, and we have some hard-working precinct committeemen across Vernon Township, Ela Township, Palatine Township, that we're grassroots. We go out and we talk to the people and we got the petitions. And I actually love it that way because I'm not beholden to anybody. I'm going to do what's best for my constituents. I'm going to do what's best for and follow and value our conservative principles. And this time around, I just think, our campaign anyway is a lot wiser, a lot smarter the way we do things. We're in a very great shape to file on Monday, the 27th, the first day that we can file petitions and get on the ballot. And the process has been really, really good. But if we want to win elections, we got to do things differently. And we have to listen to people and not just continue to do the same. It's insanity. Like Mark is in the business world and so am I. If you keep doing things and failing, there's no other group that you get rewarded. You either get fired, you get put on an employee improvement
plan. Not in politics.
You get coaching, but you have to do
politics
things differently.
Is a little different.
It's the same. It's like they play musical chairs. It's the same people that are giving the power, and maybe because some of them have money, I don't know. And it's like we don't win. And if our measurement was, are you winning elections, or are you even trying to win elections? In Lake County, because I live in Lake County, my district includes Cook and Lake, but I live in Lake County. We have Lake County boards like nobody is running except the Democrat. And they're just going to sail in. Like Republicans were so busy primary when we don't need the primary, and the Democrats are just sailing on in. So again, all of us here, we know Illinois can be a state that can really be red. My district was red 2 cycles ago. Unfortunately, it's blue now, but we are working so hard to flip it back red. And I think we have a great opportunity. So
yeah, Tassi, do you know I met with Keith the other day because I'm trying to recruit somebody to run in the 10th. We don't really have a real person, which is killing me. I just can't believe that we can't find anybody. They don't even have to live there. In fact, if anybody's on this call, believe it or not, if you wanted to run for Congress, you can be the nominee of the 10th district, which is almost flippable. It's possible. It's not crazy anyway. But no, there's a guy running who's 92 years old. That's, you know about that guy?
Yes.
I mean, it's become like a joke. And candidates like Tassi and I, who we have our eyes wide open. We know, that the party thing is kind of sometimes a little bit of a scam. It's not real. And we know what needs to be done to win. But we frankly just have to take it upon ourselves to make the efforts and make a plan and execute the plan, because nobody else is going to do it for us. And by the way, the fact that Illinois policy maybe isn't, helping you, or McCombie's HRO, that will only help you. I told Aaron that the other day. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to support you. I'm like, thank God, now I can get more votes. Most people are so disgusted with the leadership of the party and some of these silly pretend organizations that really don't do anything but raise money to pay themselves nice salaries. We've got to end all that, and we have a chance of doing it, Tassi, you and I and some others in our area.
Yeah, no, I think we have a very good chance of winning. I mean, it's going to take hard work, obviously. We're going to put in the work. There's no free lunches. But I just think this time, I know it's a midterm and everybody keeps saying, oh, with the No Kings rally and this. But there's so many. What I found by knocking doors, there are a lot of Republicans. They just don't feel like there was one guy last week who told me and another PC, I used to give to the Illinois GOP. I'm not giving one more dime. I don't know where my money goes to. I've asked to be taken off the list. This is a Republican that used to vote, but he just saw nothing happening. So he's like, why am I throwing away my money? So we have to do a better job of showing people where the money is going when we do all these banquets and stuff, where's the money? And then we have to do a good job of actually using that money to help candidates win elections. And if we don't do that, I always tell people, donate directly to the candidate. I'm sorry, anybody who's listening who might not like that.
Hey, Tassi, is the GOP running anybody against you in your primary?
The GOP
or HRO, or
not that I know. Who knows?
Okay.
We'll see who's on the ballot. You gotta get
they're running one against me. All us grassroots people that are not all, but many like true grassroots people, they're trying to attack us and run people against us in the primary. But that'll be so sad. So like I'm running basically against Richard Irvin, so it'll be fun to.
Oh my God, you're right. Mark, you're funny.
Well, I mean, it's actually your central committee woman, Joan Lassonde, is her campaign manager. So and her full-time consultant would also work for the Irvin campaign. So it's good. Like some of this ugliness, AC, we're talking about, like it's good that it's flushing it out. Like you get to see who the real rhinos are, the people that don't care about winning elections, or they even are so scared of people like me and Tassi for telling the truth and and exposing what's really going on, that they will do everything they can to try to defeat us. And so that's what we need. We need like a revolution. We got to shake things up and turn things around, and it's not going to happen without breaking some eggs.
All right, thanks, Mark. I'm going to go to you, Mike, next. Mike, you were having some problem with your petitions. How's that going?
Well, we're still struggling. We've been asking for help for a long time now, ever since we got started, 3-4 months ago. We've been asking, and nobody's even emailed me. There's been no assistance from the GOP in my area. We have contacted all of the committee people in our district, and I mean, there's a lot of empty seats, but there's still a lot of people that are in those seats, and they're not helping. They're not doing anything.
Yeah, that's kind of like the case with a lot of candidates. You're pretty much on your own, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, Mike. What are you running for, and what district or area are you in?
The second district congressional seat. So we've met.
Oh, great! I met a lot of people, and it's my pleasure, obviously. So
you met my assistant Todd also.
Oh, great!
He was at the GOP meeting in Will County last week.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, Mike, and I'm so happy that you remembered meeting me. But one thing I'll say is, you have to. Unfortunately, when I was talking earlier about that, when you first run, and I don't know if it's your first race, but it's like naive. I won't call anybody stupid, but you're like naive. CRO, HRO, all of them, again, they might mean well. All I know is when you're a candidate, you have to, it's like you're running your own small business. You have to do the work. CRO, again, Dean White is a great guy. He tries his best, but you have to do it yourself. And I know that sounds so hard because you want the party to help you and you think the party should help you, but there's no cavalry coming. You got to just get your PCs, go out yourself and raise the money, knock doors, and it's going to be frustrating, and you're going to ask the party, and sometimes they make promises they can't keep, but you can't give up. You got to be resilient if you really want it, and if you're called to do it. But you don't expect anything, and if you do get something, be grateful, and if you don't get anything, know that you earned it, and nobody can tell you what to do or how to vote. You're your own man, and that's just how it is in Illinois politics. And like I said, I was very naive, but now I'm not, and I try and share my experience with other candidates to help them.
Yeah, no, you've got that right. I have been naive, but at the same time, I don't expect anything from anybody else, just because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are just unmotivated. I have been doing this myself. I've got my assistant Todd. He's been helping. It's basically just been the two of us out there door knocking, and I have been talking to talking with everybody that answers the door. And I have run into people that are disenfranchised with the voting process, the party itself. And after talking with them for a few minutes, I'm able to get them to sign my petition because they can see that I'm not the typical politician. I'm out there, working for them, and trying to get things, to make sense, because things are so messed up. I've even had people tell me that, well, 6 months after you get elected, you're going to be just like the other people. You'll be corrupt and everything. And telling them, I'm not that person. I push back. When somebody pushes at me, I push back even harder. I'm not a yes man. I don't go with the status quo just because everybody expects me to. I'm going to do what is right for the people. That's why I'm out there actually talking to the people, and they like that. I've had a lot of people, warm up, and just because I'm out there in person talking to these people.
Mike, I got a quick question for you. Considering this is the first time that you ran, is there a reason why you chose to run for U.S. congressional district versus state rep?
Well, we've got Jackie Haas has been our state rep for a long time, and I think she's doing a good job. And I think that I don't want to take that away from her. We need to flip these blue seats to red. People are tired of what's going on. I'm being told by my campaign manager that about 30% of the people in the Democratic Party are not happy with the direction that the Democratic Party is going. And so I'm looking at that as that's 30% of the voters that I'm looking to grab. And I'm very confident that I can do that. We're gonna get enough petitions signed to get on the ballot. It's just been rough and time-consuming, which I don't mind doing. I just don't have a lot of time to do that. But that's what I'm doing. I'm taking extra time off work just to get this done, and I know that I can win this once I get on the ballot. I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to take this over.
All right, thanks for coming on.
You know the math, right? You're familiar with like Robin Kelly and which got last time and the time before and all that, right?
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? I mean, come on. Ashley Ramos ran last time. Can we just be honest? Like, if you were to win that race, okay, you would set a world record in terms of a district that's a D plus, such a deep blue district. You would literally set a record in the United States for an upset. And I'm not saying that's not possible, but I mean, it hadn't happened in 100 years, and we're sitting here on Twitter Spaces trying to figure out how we can actually turn the state red, and I don't see it.
Well, we got to get out there and actually do the work. That's where the problem is, that people aren't willing to go out there and do the work. We need to get in front of the people and talk to them. I don't think that's happening.
Okay, what percent of your district is African American? Do you know? It's 50%, right?
It's at 45%.
Okay, I see 50% when I look it up. I mean, what are you talking about? Why are we? I mean, you're not a dumb guy. You know nobody. Jesus Christ couldn't run for U.S. Congress and win in your district. And I'm sorry, I'm just an honest guy,
I don't agree with that.
People don't like me talking honestly, but we need to get serious about winning elections. And I'm not sure if you're serious.
Yes, we do.
Or not.
And that's why I'm out here doing it out by myself. I believe that this can be done.
What makes you believe? I just told you it hadn't happened in 200 years. The district like yours.
I don't listen to people like you.
Okay, I understand.
I don't listen. I'm my own person. I know I can do it.
All right, okay.
I can get out there and I can talk to people.
Right. But do you understand that people like me who've given up their job, given up their whole life to actually try to win elections, sometimes we get frustrated when people, well-meaning, wonderful, God-fearing people. They want to make a difference. But my God, man! I mean,
Well, see, I don't agree with God fearing either.
Oh.
Anybody that fears God is I don't understand.
All right, we could go on this forever, so I'm going to put a stop to this. Okay.
Yeah.
You both have your own races, and I wish you the best.
It's all about getting out and talking to the people, and that's what I'm doing.
Mike.
And I know if I get in front of enough people, we can win this.
All right, Mike. Thanks for coming up, and I wish you all the best in your race.
Thank you.
Tassi, did you want to say something? I'm going to quickly come to Carla. If anybody has any other questions, then just let me know. Okay, so Tassi, you did not have anything. Carla,
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, thanks. Carla, if you wanted to add something quickly.
Yeah, I'll just add something very quickly. I'm not going to say what I want to say, but Mike, you keep doing what you need to be doing. You know what God's called you to do, and you keep doing. Don't let anyone talk you out of it. You know what's right in your heart. I hear so many people say the GOP isn't working. Do keep doing you. We know the only way to take back this party is to get off the chair and do what you're doing. And anyone to be pompous enough to say that you shouldn't be doing it is, I have no use for it. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But one reason I raised my hand is because I hear so many people say the GOP isn't helping. They're absent, they're broken, they're disconnected. And instead of fixing it, we've learned to work around it. That's what we've been doing. Well, it's broken. There's nothing we can do. But that needs to stop. The only way forward is to rebuild the party. It's our party. The Illinois GOP is weak because I've said it over and over. We are absent. When we leave the seats empty, when they're over 50% vacant throughout the state, we leave the power in the hands of a few. The reason the party the way it is because we've got the attitude that we've been fighting, the keep it small, keep it all attitude, and that needs to change. If you're tired of the Aaron Delmars, if you're tired of the Kathy Salvies, if you're tired of the State Central Committee members who carry the titles without doing the real work, the only solution isn't to walk away. It isn't to step aside. It's not to work around it. It's to become an elected precinct commitment. It only takes 10 signatures from the Republican voters in your neighborhood, which is your precinct, to get on the ballot. And every precinct outside of Cook County is on the ballot in 2026. Every township committee person outside of Chicago is on the ballot. There's, I believe, 30 of them that are on the ballot in 2026. These positions are not symbolic. These are voting seats that elect your county chairman and the voting seats that elect the state central committeeman, the very people who decide the direction of our party. And that vote is determined by a weighted vote. The precinct committeeman and the township committeeman vote those seats based on how many people voted in their precinct. The more people who vote in their precinct in the primary, the stronger their vote is. That's the message we need to be telling our voters. Not to give it up, but to tell them if we want a stronger party, we have to become the party. Yeah. We can't keep living around a broken system. We've got to fix it right in front.
Carla, I'd just like to say one problem we haven't touched on that I was addressing is the misapplication of resources. We can't win every race. I mean, we have to be a little bit honest, right? And there are some gerrymandered districts that we just cannot win. And when I understand you don't, but I'm just talking common sense here. And so like the Cook County. Wait, let me finish. I'll let you finish.
Just let him finish.
So Cook County is overwhelmingly Democrat voting, right? So a county-wide, for example, race where the Republican would typically get 30%, 25%. In fact, if Cook County just voted 35% red, the whole state would be red. So that's actually where the big issue is. But in any event, like if let's say you have $1 to donate to help a Republican win an election, if you were to give that $1 to, I think his name was Mike, or you were to give that $1 to, or an hour of your time to Mike or to somebody running for Cook County, something or other, where they're going to get 20 or 30% of the vote, instead of going to a race like my own race is a D+2. Okay, these other races we're talking about are D+32. And I'm sorry if it's too much common sense and some people might get triggered by it, but it just is what it is. We have a better chance of winning a race that's essentially purple than deep blue. And as a party, we ought to come to grips with that and not misapply our resources. We've done that in past elections where, in fact, the leadership of your precious party directs people to put resources into races that we can't win because the most money goes back to them in the form of grifter type commissions. And so they're not trying to win. They're just trying to feather their nest, and they can say, oh, I have somebody running in this impossible to win race. And God bless Mike for being the man of La Mancha and trying to win. I'm just telling you, as a party, we need to recognize that we need to try to win elections, and we should not misapply resources into completely, pathetically impossible races to win, and we should focus on what we can do to win, which would be identify those races where we have at least a chance and put our resources there. And if you think the party's going to do that or electing committeeman, I mean, you might be right, but I think we're 10, 20 years away from that happening, and I'm not going to be around 20 years from now.
Thanks, Mark. Vernon Township?
I don't know. I was having connection issues, so I may have missed whatever. But as far as like Carla's points, absolutely. We've talked about this, and Carla is like sometimes people who come to this space, they don't understand that like after 50 weeks or so, there's regulars, and Carla's like a featured speaker on here, and she's with the Illinois Freedom Alliance. They do phenomenal work training precinct committeemen all the time. I refer a lot of my fellow PCs in our township and elsewhere, but the commentary about like you can't win in this district just vaguely sounds like a consultancy thing to say, because I have heard consultants say, for example, that 51, we should give up on 51 and Tossi's running, and there is an HRO candidate for 51. I mean, she is getting a primary. So, just adding a little bit of perspective that some of us, have to maybe respect some other viewpoints and respect other people, because we're all, nobody's like hanging out on the X space talking about inside baseball or, planning their campaign. However, maybe sad that it might be, just like we all know the 92-year-old guy in Lake County who's, he runs for something every year. And that's what he does, but like, it's not his problem that's our options right now. Just as, Mark mentioned, talking to Keith Bryn, who's chair of Lake County, and I'm sure he's not the only one. I'm sure there are many of us who are like, why don't we have candidates? You look at DuPage County and what Kevin Coyne has been doing over there, where he made it basically his mission. I'm going to fill every single empty, place with like a candidate, a Republican candidate, and he's like kicking butt. So we all have, like, every little area has their problems, and everybody's like just trying to do what they're trying to do. And I don't think, I just think that it's funny to hear people kind of like, turn their nose up or talk about grifters and consultants, but I've heard like very similar sentiments coming out of the very people that they define as grifters or consultants sometimes. Like if it's not, if it's a D plus whatever, then, don't even bother with it. And I've heard that about, like I said, it's funny. I'm so glad Tossi's on this call, because I've heard that about 51. Like, why are we bothering with 51? Oh my God, it's a lost cause. But yet the HRO wants to, vet someone and run someone and get Tossi a primary when she's, this is her second race. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
All right, thanks, Vernon Township. I think, and I want to defend you here, Mark, but I think you're speaking from the point of common sense, maybe an extreme common sense, right? But I also see the merits on the other side, right? When you see somebody like Mike, he's using his own resources, right? So there's no resources being lost, right? And these are mostly local resources, so these aren't resources that are being taken away from another candidate, right?
Yeah, I think that's good, by the way. I'm
right, and that's what I'm trying to say, is that I think you agree with that, and I think you're just trying to be realistic and offer realistic advice. And that's exactly what my point was. That it's something that
and I am doing this on my own dime. I'm not taking any other resources to do this. I just would have liked to have a little bit of help knocking on doors, but that didn't happen. I'm okay with that. I'm out there doing it myself, and I'm getting a lot of people signing because I'm actually talking to the people. They're sick of what's going on, and we have a chance to flip this, and that's why I'm doing this.
And Mike, what's really frustrating to me, I bet all of you will agree with me on this, is like, so here in the 10th, I say here, but in the 10th district, we don't have even a candidate, and then we've got other races where we've got 3 and 4 people running in a primary. I mean, it's like so stupid of us. You'd think we could do a better job. I think most of you know, to run for U.S. Congress, you don't even have to live in the district. And by the way, in the 10th, that's Brad Schneider is the incumbent, and I've got FOIA documents that are really damning to his chances of re-election. And I would love for somebody to run there, and or resources to get put into that race, and it would actually help me in my race. It would for sure help Tassi in her race because she's down ballot to that race. And so I just sometimes get frustrated when I hear these South Side precincts that haven't been Republican in 100 years, and they're D plus 20 or 30. Like I've got some real actionable things that we could do as a group if we could just get together.
I'm going to go quickly to Tassi, and then I'll come to you, Libs. Go ahead, Tassi.
Yeah, no, I just want to emphasize a couple of things. First of all, Mike, you're running, like I said, you met me, just go for it, do your best work, and let God's will be done. Number 2.
That's
right. Number two, Carla, I have actually, as a PC, attended her trainings, and I want to say thank you, Carla. What you do is not easy. Being a PC, it is the foundation for winning elections. And Ela, if we had every area filled with the hardworking PC, we would not be in the situation we're in now. PCs are the lifeline and the heartbeat of every campaign. And I want to say thank you, Carla. I respect what you do. Like I said, I've attended your training, and it's not easy. And as far as races, this is what I just say. You work hard, let the people decide, keep moving forward, and let's make Illinois red and great again. All right, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Something else that I wanted to.
Hey, Rabbi.
You were asking
Rabbi is here.
Percentage of my
district. Hey, Rabbi. Look at what it is. It's that fucking that piece of shit Jordanian shawarma eating, kanafa cooking, falafel making,
talk to everybody.
Goat herding, goat milk drinking,
stand there and listen.
Fake ass Christian, Greek Orthodox bullshit artist, Fat Life Supreme, day trading piece of shit, Randy McDickerson.
I have black.
Of the
electioneering thing. If you have an ethnic group that votes overwhelmingly Democrat in your district, and they're a large part of your district, that makes it very, very challenging to win, which is why, it's just like math.
Like I said, anybody that wants to call me, racist,
Mike, I don't think he's calling you racist, and I don't think you're calling him racist. Let's clarify this.
I talk to everybody.
So, Mike, and I think Mark is coming from a statistical standpoint.
I'm recording Mark Rice, who's running for Congress here in Illinois, at an X Space. Yeah, it's like a clubhouse room, basically. It's on X Spaces. What's new with you? How's Wall Street?
My life is amazing. I'm wondering how you're doing with your work.
Man, I dude.
Because you left last time, and I didn't figure it out. Like, they're garnishing your wages, and you got fired, or what happened?
Let's not go backwards. Let me just tell you where I'm at. The tenant checked out in the basement. He had a dog. The dog pissed all over everything. Had to rip out the carpet, toss the mattress, all the sheets.
Basement, right?
My basement. Yeah, my building. So he cost me thousands of dollars in damage. I had a girl canceled a reservation. She said she got a permanent stench and odor attached to her clothes. It's the dog piss. Dude, you cannot have a dog it sucks, dude. They piss all over, and people are lazy, and I hate humans. So, but I'm dating a pretty spicy 24-year-old nurse. So, you know, that's like the spiciest, most amazing thing in my life. I mean, you know.
You are dating a 24-year-old, but that's too young for you, nigga, isn't it?
A little too young, a little too spicy, but, you know, like Kanye said, if you can't be used, you are useless.
Oh, chat. Well, I mean, is she using you? How is she using you?
She's using me. I'm helping her. She's completely oblivious. She didn't have. She didn't have a City of Chicago sticker on her windshield. She didn't have a plate sticker on her car. She owes $900 in parking tickets. Her ETA is 8/24. That means I gotta get going soon.
You need someone to help you, nigga. You need someone to help you.
Well, what I need you to do as my rabbi is to stop telling me to be productive and go direct to Hashem in Shemayim and tell him the issues so he knows for sure what help to send and which angels to bring to battle.
Yeah, then probably I should go back to you, nigga.
Can't use the hard R.
I didn't use hard R.
Just a warning. Just a warning. We gotta get going, dude. My nurse has texted me, and I'm bringing the leftovers from last night. Bro, you should have seen the Persian food last night. Holy cow. It makes Arab food from Jordan look like dog food. You know what I'm saying? These Persians know how to cook a dinner. You Arabs don't know how to cook for shit when it comes to Persian food. Let me tell you that.
I disagree. I think, well, it depends where you go. It really depends where you go.
I mean, it's actually all very similar. You know, Palestinian food and Persian food is so similar. Oh, Hugo is here. It doesn't matter. Let me finish up on this political recording, and then I'm going to go.
We have to just put some effort into that. And because when you see something like Mark pointed out, yeah, when you don't even get 20%, it feels like you just wasted a lot of time on nothing. I agree. But here's the thing. Put 20% in, this guy gets 20. The next time we could run, we'd be like, hey, did you see the last 4 years or last 6 years? Your representative was shit. Let's get 30. Let's build it up. Let's keep going, because that's how you got to do it. We're not, you're building something up because we have nothing. You have to build it. And I know Illinois likes to focus on the rest of Illinois and not Chicago. But there are a lot of disenfranchised people in Chicago. A lot. And you could look at that from what the Mayor Johnson got. I mean, what is it, like 30% of the people that came out to vote for him? I mean, not for him, but just in general. 30%. Yeah. That means 70% of people are disenfranchised. Republicans are no fucking where to be found. And you know, Democrats seem to be more and more I'll call it progressive, but I want to say radicalized for office, where the 70% need to be talked to. We have to do something. Now, I will say that, like I said, different places, different situations. Chicago's much different. We're not going to win in Chicago. I don't think that there's going to be a Republican congressman in Chicago. But there has to be something. Like, there has to be some sort of foundation built for the next guy. Okay? And it's important. It is really important. I'm with Mark on one hand. I'm also with Carla, because if we can play Mark's game until we get the power, but we have to play Carla's game as well, because that's how we keep the power.
Hey, Liv, you'll find this funny. I tell Annie, who Carla works with, I hug her and I kiss her. I tell her I love her, and we agree on everything.
They don't even care, Chuck, or are concerned.
Well, it's one of those things that, as soon as you said it, I was just like, oh, that's not what. When you said that this is how the Democrats play, I agree. This is how they play. And sometimes, unfortunately, you have to play the dirty game to beat the dirty people. Yeah, and that's where we are. That's where we are. But
You know,
I have no problem.
I only chimed in because when you said Chicago, like places like Chicago or districts that haven't been read in 100 years.
You just don't understand.
I think that's. I think it's bullshit for anything or anybody to believe that. We can flip that. There are so many disenfranchised people. There just are.
And were you aware of my statistic that, I think we all know it, right? If Cook County were to go 35%, and we will still lose by a lot, but just 35% would flip the whole state.
Well, and that's one of my premises is that it may be 35. We could get 35% today. We could get 38% the next election. We get 42% the next election. But I would say Republicans don't spend any time in Chicago. I mean, I'm just thinking about the governor's election. Darren Bailey, which I like Darren Bailey. I don't think he was the best choice for governor last time. But it is what it is. He had some campaign signs in Chicago down in the loop.
Videos.
That's shit. And then the rest of the time he spent calling Chicago a shithole, which we all know what he meant, but that's not really going to win votes, right?
Right.
And we can flip on this. There's different ways.
There to delete?
But I think that everybody has to kind of agree on what works for one guy in one place may not work in another place.
Which one's there to delete?
And you know,
it's too much for you.
We all need to be on the same team because that's what really Democrats are.
It's too much for you.
They're really good about being on the same team. Even when they're not on the same team, they're on the same team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me
And
know
so
which
I think that
ones
that's really, really
there to
important.
delete.
And stop bickering. I don't judge you based off your son. Me and your son have gone back and
I
forth
would
with
have
some
kept
stuff.
seeing me.
It is what it is. But I'm not judging you based off his thoughts and his ideas. You know, but I'm not everybody, and other people may. So,
some do.
I always kept seeing me. And I would see
like
me
I said,
now.
we all need to come together, and I think that that's sometimes his rhetoric will be connected to you. You know that.
Yeah.
And when he goes after people, for
See me,
instance,
I
I know
see me
Terry.
now.
I've talked to Terry. I know Terry can be, you know, kind of. You know,
I know Terry very well.
I'm not calling Terry goofy. I'm saying he could be out there. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he's an outspoken person. He's out there, and he doesn't mind talking. But you know, when you have people like, for instance, I'm naming Emily only because, you know, I've spoken to Emily, and anyway, so we have to be united. We can't be like, oh well, we have this little bullshit thing that we disagree with, so you know, fuck everything. It can't be like.
But wait, can I ask you something on that subject? Do we have any standards at all? Like can we? Or is there anybody that we could say you can't be part of our party because of your behavior? You molest children, or you rape some. I mean, you know, we've got to have some standards.
But if you ask me, it's what. I don't have the answer to that, and I'm not the person to come up with a stand. I can if everybody agrees or that they want me to, but I when it comes to the situation, I'm just good. Like I said, I'm just going to bring up Emily only because that was a situation that was brought up. She did bad things in her life. She changed her life. If she was continuously doing bad things, Terry did bad things in his life. If he was still doing that, I would not involve.
No, I understand they can turn the. I'm not even. I'm friends with both of them. Per me, they may hate me because of my last name, but like, how about Art Jones, for example? Can we agree that Art Jones should not be a candidate for Republican office of any kind? You remember Art? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't. No, I'm not.
He was also in one of these hopeless districts that can't really be won by Republicans, and he was the nominee. He ran unopposed, and he was the head of the Nazi. The Illinois Nazi Party, and it was very embarrassing. And Max and other people, you know, pointed that out, and he admitted it. I mean, you know, this wasn't like a rumor.
Yeah,
he was proud of it. I mean, we do have to, you know, we don't self-police ourselves. Is a nice way to say it.
I would be.
I agree with that. You know, and
I would be doing
bad.
yoga
We have
with
to have
me.
some minimum standards. My goodness, I mean, we're supposed to be
He's
the
doing
party
yoga
that
with me
believes
at the
in
moment.
God and has
What's that?
morals and
She's only doing
values.
yoga with me.
Sometimes, anyway, we don't do that.
I agree. I'm not fighting you on that at all. But you're 100% right. What those standards and what we should have, I know what I have, what everybody else has. I try to hold people to those standards as well. It's very difficult, but
Tell your children not to walk my way.
On the same side. We got to think about it. Just think about this as far as governor. We have Dabrowski, we have Mendrick, and I don't know if Bailey. But anyway, we have people that are on our side. We know all of those three of those people are Republicans.
Doing yoga with me at the moment.
We know they are. And so no matter who wins, we need to back that guy up and, criticize him when need to be criticized, but we need to back that person. And I feel like in the Republican Party, we just, if you don't like Bailey, you just shit on Bailey afterwards, and we can't do that,
Yeah.
We can't do it. We're not going to win like that. People don't do that to Pritzker. There's a lot of Democrats that I know. Where I work, a lot of Democrats hate Pritzker. They still voted for him just simply because he had a D next to his name. And we need to have Republicans, and I hate to say it, we need to have Republicans that vote for a Republican when it comes to governor because he or she has an R next to their name.
Yeah. By the way, I would tell you, I think they do everywhere. Illinois is Texas if you cut out Cook County and the collar counties.
Well,
the rest of the state does exactly that. It's just this little communist area of Chicago.
I generally agree. I live in the middle of the communist area, literally. I am behind enemy lines, but and I'm pulling up to my communist area right now, but I think that when you said there's you could win your district, I think you win. But we need to set some sort of footprint in Cook County.
Double, stop being under problems.
Yep, and it's kind of disrespectful to every Republican in Chicago, to be honest with you. And I think the last I saw with the Chicago Republicans is somewhere around 25% of Chicago are Republicans. They're completely disenfranchised.
Yeah. That's why we get to 30%. But I told you, my district's almost half Cook County, and half the state senators and half the state reps are Republican. More than half the mayors of the towns are Republican. There are Republicans in parts of it anyway. Not the South Side so much, but on the Northwest side.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm very much for us having our disagreements about stuff, but I think we just need to be united on a common goal. And if the common goal is to get Mark Rice elected for for Congress, then that's what we need to do. And we can argue about the things we don't agree with later, right? And
all right, Libs, thanks for bringing the voice of reason.
All right.
You're the official.
Voice of reason, isn't that insane?
You're the official mediator of the space.
I'm sorry for ranting and kind of taking over for a few minutes, but
no, it's all good.
I think it's important that we stay united.
AC, do you mind if I chip in real quick? Sure. 1 second, Stephen. Just 1 second. Tassi, did you want to add something to the topic quickly?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make a correction actually to the last speaker because he made a comment that, I have to correct. I mean, I don't know if you were referring to, you said black people don't vote, and that's kind of an ignorant comment because how do you think Obama won twice, and how do you think Biden won? And why do you think Trump was targeting the blacks, right? So I think we just have to be careful. That was one. And then number two, I wanted to ask Carla, because when I jumped on, Mark asked me about ballot harvesting and about when she says it's immoral, I just want to learn more, what is immoral about ballot harvesting so I can know for myself.
All right, those are two loaded questions, Tassi. It was supposed to be a quick statement.
I want not to interrupt anybody, but I want to say that when I say black voters don't vote, don't mean the percentage of black votes that a candidate gets. I mean the overall number of black people do not vote. And I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I know damn well I'm not black, but the black people don't vote.
Where are you getting that from, though? You can't make statements like that. It's me saying white people don't vote. Like that, where you have to, sir, I'm an auditor and I'm a business person and I'm very smart as well. You got to have the facts. So you can't just make black people voted overwhelmingly more than Asians and Hispanics over the last, you can check the facts. Now, if you want to tell me black people, and I don't know how you were raised or where you live, if you want to say, I live in the south side of Chicago and 50% of the African Americans do not vote or something like that, you have the data to back it up, yes, but you just can't make blanket statements like that. And, I just have to correct you.
I'm driving, but I will find the data.
Yeah, if you find it, let me know. Right? Yeah. Okay, so my question was for Carla, do you know what's immoral about ballot harvesting? Because maybe me and Mark can learn something.
Well, personally, I believe that an individual's right is to vote or not to vote. And when you have a third party collecting or chasing ballots and pressuring them to submit a vote that they don't even believe in, just to meet some third party's quota so they can get more money, you can't say they're not being bullied on that. So I believe in that. It opens the door to manipulation and pressure. Everyone on this call knows that vote by mail cannot be trusted. When we break the chain of custody in our ballots, we are losing. There is no tracing. When that ballot leaves and it's put into a mailbox, there is no way of tracing that ballot to make sure that chain of custody is not broken. So that is...
The signature has to match.
Are you telling me that you don't think vote by mail it has any fraudulent votes coming in?
No, I told you I think it does, but they're going to continue to do it, and people with your point of view are making it so that we'll continue to lose because we won't engage in the activity that will enable us to win elections. But we'll be more moral because we're more moral than the Democrats. We just lose.
I personally believe God will never bless something that is not moral. I believe that to the bone of, there's no way someone can convince me differently. And I would never do something that just because the ends justify the means that that's something we should do. We know that breaking the chain of custody breaks our ballot. It breaks the trust that people have in our voting. People don't trust our voting systems. That's why they're not voting. So by expanding on a voting system that we know breaks the chain of custody, and we know through all the evidence that has come out that these vote by mails are 100% used to manipulate the vote, and the tabulators, when they start dropping them in at the end of the night with these machines, we know that they're being manipulated. We cannot out-cheat the Democrats. We cannot out-cheat the Democrats. We cannot do it unless we want to become and just cheat like them. And if
No. You never heard me say ever that we should cheat, ever. I never said that. There's legal ballot harvesting, and I know you don't like it, but it's legal.
See, that's what's so frustrating. He's allowed to interrupt me, but I'm not allowed to interrupt him. But what I am saying is when we break that chain of custody, we lose the moral high ground. We cannot come back later and say, these votes are invalid when we are pushing to use the same thing. That's why I call it immoral. It's because we lose that. And people have the right to vote and not to vote. And we have to rebuild our political system. We have to rebuild the Republican Party. And by just keep working around and all those resources, we could have had this done by now. But the Illinois Republican Party has worked nothing but against us in filling these precinct vacancies because they don't want them filled. And for Mark to sit here and say, well, we have to do this because it hasn't been filled, when he admitted his own precinct committeeman seat is not filled. That's why we're losing. It's because we are not doing the hard work. We want the easy work. We want to take the pill and make sure that we lose all the weight. That's just the way the Americans have become. We've got to do the hard work, and God will not bless us if we try to cheat. And cheating is vote by mail. We've got to get rid of the vote by mail. And my personal belief is by participating in it, we are putting our stamp of approval on it.
I'd love to talk to you about the Bible someday, but not on this. But
I think it's the topic that we could go on forever. in my opinion, we're talking about something that's legal versus moral, right? And there's two sides of the discussion, and literally we could go on all day, all night for it, right? So you told us your perspective, Mark. Carla, you told us your perspective on it. Tasi, I hope you got an answer from why Carla thinks it's immoral, okay? If not, you connect with
also,
her.
I don't look the same anymore.
More of her take on it, okay? But I wanted to wrap this space up. We've been going for over 2 hours now, right? Stephen, I know you were trying to say something. If you wanted to add something to this, or if you also wanted to just quickly mention, the news that just came up regarding the university.
I can do both real quick.
Yeah, sure, go for it. Thanks.
When I came here, I was expecting a discussion of policy, and we've been talking about this kind of inside baseball stuff for about 2 hours. The things that are going to bring voters to the table, the things that are going to convince people, that are going to build coalitions, that are going to bring fundraisers is policy. And sniping at each other in a public space like this is counterproductive. And, I believe that if you're going to run for office, that you should lead, short, statements of policy positions, how you're going to improve people's lives. This conversation should have not taken this tack, and it should have at most been 5 minutes. We've got to make sure that we stay committed to the mission, to our candidates, to the parties. We can have these internal fights and whatnot, but if we get baited into these type of conversations, and people are a lot more friendly here than they're going to be in congressional forums or debates and other things like that. We have to avoid getting baited into these type of conversations and stay on, remember our purpose. So that being said, for those of you following my lawsuit, we still haven't heard from the lawsuit, but we did have a major concession by the University of Illinois Chicago and UIC just the other day that they have decided to end racial discriminatory practices in the awarding of student financial aid and for hiring across the entire University of Illinois system. I don't know anything beyond that. They haven't reached out to us. I'll let you know, but that's all I wanted to add on both those points. Thank you to the candidates for coming here, but I do want to make sure that something like this does not happen again.
Oh, he wants to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again, huh? Well, just happened. What does he think? He's the censor or something? All right, I hope everybody enjoyed it. That was candidate Congressman Mark Rice.